Happy enough?
Yeah.
Okay, by me.
Chair,
Right, Chair, thanks for that.
the radio station. It sounds as though I'm hearing the radio station or something, Chair.
The instruction to every councillor is to mute the microphone and well, the card touch no image. Agus dús beire bhil an fáilte go raibh go dtí an coiste asking in agus pobl de bhí mehef. You're all very welcome to this Regeneration and Community Committee meeting of Tuesday the 9th, 2020. So we will proceed. Just a few words before I start. I have decided as chair to make a slight adjustment to the order of the agenda. Item 4 will now be discussed after item 9. If all councillors are happy enough with that, it is quite in order for the chair to do so.
Councillor Thompson agrees with that, Chair.
That's grand, Councillor Thompson, and maybe again for in the interest of brevity, unless there is an issue that you're conflicting with, maybe we would refrain from any comment. It may speed up the meeting. Okay, just for advice. Obviously, you're entitled to speak whenever you wish. Another item has been brought to my attention. Councillor Coyle has requested a discussion on the matter of the murder of George Floyd. And it'd be remiss of me as the chair on the day of his funeral not to give way for that discussion to take place. That will take place under any other business, Ian Gruella, and hopefully we will have time to discuss. We will return to that issue later in the meeting if it seems we're running out of time. Guru Mayagov, that'll do. Now, if we could go to item 1, apologies, please.
Chair, can I hear that? Best wishes in the year ahead, Mark Cahill, of this committee, and no apologies from the Sinn Féin group.
Barry. Victor.
No apologies from the Ulster Unionist grouping, Tommy.
And Errol.
To the Chair, and I wish you well in the year ahead. No apologies from the Democratic Unionist Party.
Many thanks. Many thanks. And Mary, you have indicated Councillor Blake will be late.
Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor Graham. Good luck tonight and in your year. And that's no apology, just Councillor Blake's running late. Thank you.
That's grand. Now, item 2, just to let you all know that I have already signed the minutes and confidential minutes of the previous meeting held on the 10th of March. Item 3, declarations of interest. If I could just start, sorry, just to indicate my own declarations. First of all, 6.1 grant aid panel and 6.3 the planning report. So go ahead there, Councillor Deehan is first on the list.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and every best wish in your role as Chair for the incoming year. I'd like to declare an interest in item 5.0 as a member of a number of the community groups which received support under that council scheme. Thank you.
Matter of information, Tommy, if I can come in, Councillor O'Reilly's after ringing me there. He can't get on to and he's requesting IT to give him a ring.
Thanks for Seamus, it's already indicated. Thank you. And moving on to Howard Thornton, please, Howard.
Yes, Chair. Wishing you a good, successful year in office. 6.1 grant aid.
Yes, is that it, Howard?
Yes, that's it, Chair.
Thank you, Howard. And now we have Councillor Armstrong, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Enniskillen Town Hall, and Tommy, every good wish for this year. I want to declare an interest in, thank you, item 7.7, Marble Arch Caves. It's to do with the cooperation programme through the LAG, and I'm a LAG board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Thompson.
Thank you again, Chair. Declaring interest in item 5, various community groups. Item 6.1, paper B, as a member of the grant aid panel. Item 6.3, as a member of the planning committee.
Thank you, Earl. And
item 6.5.
And 6.5. Thank you, Earl. And now, Eamon, please, Eamon. Is that a declaration of interest, Eamon?
Sorry, a declaration of interest in the grant aid. A member of one of the community groups received.
Thank you. And Mary Garrity, Collier Garrity.
Thank you, Chair. Item 6.1, member of the grant aid panel. Thanks.
And Collier Corey.
Gormagat, Tommy, August, Amor, Durham, Blaine, Shawgin. Item 6.1, I'm a member of one of the groups. I'm not leaving. It's just wider discussion. 6.7, I'm a member of the LAG, and 6.8, FLT. I think it's just an update as well. Gormagat.
Collier Coyle.
6.3, Chair, member of the Planning Committee.
Collier and Councillor McCloughtry. Councillor McCloughtry.
Thank you, Chair. 6.7, I'm a member of LAG. Samar Broad Caves.
Thank you. And Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Just the planning committee, please, for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Chair.
Sorry, yes, Bert. Sorry, Anne-Marie, you were next in the list. I'll come to you just after Bert. He's coming in here. Just go ahead, Bert.
All the best, new year, and 6.1, the grant aid panel, and 6.7, a LAG member. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne-Marie Fitzgerald and Tyrone Oram. Anne-Marie, we jumped ahead of you there.
Hello, can you hear me, Tommy?
Got you now, Anne-Marie. Yeah, fine. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine, Anne-Marie.
6.1, Tommy, I mean 6.1 grant aid panel, member of that.
You're welcome, Gormayagan. And Anne-Marie Donnelly, Collier Donnelly.
Thank you, Tommy. 6.7, member of LAG. Thank you.
Gormayagan. Collier Feely.
Can you hear me there, Tommy?
Yes, Anthony, go ahead, please.
Best luck on the year, Tommy, and best luck tonight.
Thank you.
6.3, planning committee, 6.7, member LAG.
The LAG and the planning committee, Gormayagan, Anthony. And Councillor Baird.
Thank you, Chair, and again, best wishes. Item 6.8 related to FLT, item 7.7 and 7.8 relating to the Marble Arch Caves and my role as a member of the Joint Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Armstrong, you're looking in again.
Yes, thank you. A few members have indicated 6.7 for LAG. I think possibly they mean 7.7. Could we just have clarification, please?
7.7, what do we just check? Well, there's two issues, isn't there? There's the report of the LAG and the Marble Arch Caves.
Then I apologise, I got it wrong. I would be 6.7 too. If the LAG is mentioned, I didn't pick that up there.
I'm getting advice here that actually you're right, Diana. It is actually 7.7. Has that noted and adjusted for those councillors? Yeah, that's already been adjusted. Thanks for pointing that out, Councillor Armstrong. Garvin, Collier McPhillips.
Thanks very much, Chair, and best of luck for your year ahead. 6.8, member of FLT. Thank you.
Thank you. Collier Campbell.
Jeremy, I've got a Carly and best wishes for the year ahead. 6.3, a member of the planning committee, and I don't know if this is possible. At the start, we may have declared an interest en bloc for the planning committee. Maybe that's not possible now, and it's just up to the discretion of each councillor. But that might be an idea if we could.
Just on advice, I'm getting a nod and a wave here from the back. That's not possible, Glenn. It needs to be done by individual councillors. I did read the note there that it says if you have a punitive benefit from being on the committee, maybe there is necessity for a review of the situation. Maybe it could be taken up with group leaders. A lot of councillors are just indicating as members of the committee when it maybe should be on a punitive reason. Gormy Agat for that, Glenn. Gormy Agat. Councillor Thornton, back in. Now being erased. I'm looking at Councillor Donnelly, please. Stephen Donnelly, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and wishing you well for the year ahead. Just need to declare an interest under 5.0 as sitting on one of the community groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Gormy Agat. And Collier O'Reilly, Councillor O'Reilly. Thomas, are you there? Thomas, we're having a problem hearing you, whatever has happened. I'll move on I'll call you at the end again, Thomas. Okay. Councillor Sean Donnelly. Collier Donnelly.
Good luck in the year ahead, Tommy. On 6.3, isn't it, the planning committee? That's all.
I think you're dogged. You're right. Yes, thank you. And Corey Reach.
Neil, Ronorum, Tommy.
And Councillor Irving.
Thanks very much, Chair. 6.3, but we haven't declared an interest in the statistics coming from the Department before because there's no particular reference to the committee. So whilst to raise it, I'm going to speak on the subject because it doesn't directly affect the committee. Thank you.
Thanking you, Councillor. I already did say I do read in the minutes we're supposed to be if it's a punitive benefit to us, but again, maybe it could be reviewed. And Councillor Robinson.
Oh.
Maybe if all councillors could check their microphones there, please. We're getting a bit of background knowledge. Some families having fun.
6.3 planning,
Paul,
6.8 FLP, and 7.79.
Those three for Paul. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Buchanan.
Thanks, Chair. 6.1 grant aid, please.
Good man. Thanks. And Councillor Dehan Arish. Back in, Josephine, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I hadn't thought to declare an interest in 6.3, but and I don't have any pecuniary interest, but I will declare an interest as a member of the Planning Committee, and I suppose it does affect the planning performance. So 6.3, Chair.
All right, thank you, Josephine. Garvin Arish.
Apologies, Chair. I forgot to be hand.
Glenn Campbell, Collier Campbell Arish. Hand left up.
Sorry, Tyrone Oram. My hand's down now at the moment. Tommy.
Right. And Collier Donnelly, Anne-Marie Donnelly, you need back in again, Anne-Marie?
Sorry, I thought my hand was down, Tommy. Apologies.
Right, that's okay. Thank you. And Councillor Smith again. Councillor Smith, I'm taking it your hand was left up in error. We'll move on to Councillor Rainey.
Good wishes, Chair, and planning and lag 6.3 and 7.7.
Very good, Alan, thank you. And Collier Gannon, Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair, and good luck in the year ahead. 7.7, member of the lag, and just, I don't know if anyone else is picking up, but there's a lot of interference and background noise there that I'm getting, but just to mention it. Thank you.
Right, Adam, I have just requested all councillors to mute their microphone. Maybe if they could double check again, please, and maybe make sure the hands are down too, please. Councillor Sean Donnelly, I'm thinking your hand may be up in there again, but come in if you're necessary.
How do I get it down? I was trying to get it down there. Is there how do you?
Right. Just to press on it again, Sean, is the advice from IT here. If you
Lovely. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Gurmayagan. And Thomas O'Reilly at last. Thomas.
Lower hand, yes.
Thank you, Sean. And mute your microphone too, Sean, please, to improve the signal. Thomas O'Reilly, Collier O'Reilly.
Tommy, Seamus here. Thomas is after ringing me again there just about 30 seconds ago and told me to ask IT to ring him because he's getting no response to them online, so he wants them to actually ring him. He's getting very frustrated at the minute, so it might be good to ring him as quick as possible.
Thanking you, Seamus, and that's already been heard by IT, and hopefully it'll be resolved shortly. Had you anything to add yourself, Seamus, there? I see your name on the list, or was it just to make that comment?
It was just to make that comment, Tommy.
Seamus, thank you, Gurmayagat. And Color Corey, Arish?
Bronorm Tommy Everett, Coig 5.0. I just see it in the appendices there, Gurmayagat.
That's recorded now, Color Corey. Well, we will obviously give Thomas the chance to indicate when he comes online. So if everyone's happy enough with that declaration of interest, we will move to item 5 on the agenda to consider a report on the Council's community coordination and emergency funding responses to the COVID-19 paper A, and that is.
Start. Thank you, Chair.
And if I could just say before John starts, this is his first time to speak to us all, so he's very welcome and good luck in his new role. Thank
you, Chair. Members, this is a joint report from Kim as Director of Regeneration and Planning and myself on the COVID-19 update, and in particular the support and coordination of the community response to the crisis and the provision of emergency grant aid to the community. I suppose I'll make my first contribution by pointing out an error on the very first page on 1.2 on the second line. We have.
Interrupt. Could John move the mic round to his face? That'll be clearer. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Just to point out an error in my very first contribution to the committee. In 1.2 on the second line there, we have called the Western Health and Social Services Trust, and it should be the Western Health, as we all know, and Social Care Trust. I'm going back to my old days in the health service when I used to do the Western Health and Social Services Board. But this is just an update on the COVID-19, which we said we would bring to this committee. And on the April the 1st, the Community Services Hub was set up, as you will all know, and we commenced the DFC Food Parcels Distribution Scheme on the 7th of April, which was set up by the Department for Communities. We also allocated a budget, as with the approval of the Chair, of 140,000, and that opened for applications on the 3rd of April, and that was supplemented by a fund allocation from DFC of another 68,000 approximately for the COVID-19 Community Support Fund. So I suppose the report is just in answering or in looking at the response from the community and how that fund was spent and going ahead what happens. The Community Coordination Hub was operational from 9 to 6 on 7 days per week at the very start, but more recently has been reduced to 5 days a week from 9 to 5 because of the reduced need and the number of calls that are coming in through the hub. And throughout the whole period, the council worked alongside the community and voluntary sector in coordinating the support to the community on the COVID-19 pandemic. And at the start, I have to say it was very hectic, and I have to pay a tribute to those who both manned the helpline and indeed the distribution centre for the amount of work that they've done. The number of referrals which we got. As of up to the 31st of May, we had received over 2,500 referrals, which at the start, came from there was the Advice NI helpline, which were referred to ourselves from the Western Health and Social Care Trust, and we also set up a self-referral form. But it was clear from the initial amount of calls that we were getting that the number of food parcels which we were getting into the district at 1,200 wasn't going to meet the need which was coming in. And we established a waiting list at that time, but it became clear that towards the end of April that DFC could not extend the provision any further than 1,200, and at that stage we stopped the waiting list because there was no point in creating an expectation that people would receive food parcels, and we also closed down the referral scheme. In recent weeks, the supply of food parcels from DFC to the council has increased as reallocations from other councils came towards us, and also as people left the scheme itself. And I suppose it is worth pointing out that, you know, this week we will pass the 10,000 mark of the number of food parcels which were given out to the community, which is a major feat for our district. We are at the moment averaging somewhere between 1,250 and 1,300 food parcels out to the community on a weekly basis. On the weekend, 29th of May, you will see there on page 3 of the report that we distributed 1,283 food parcels. It has to be said that those that we took off the waiting list, that we contacted each one of them and we asked for, you know, what sort of action could we help with, whether it be refer them to food banks or whatever. And 81% of those whom we contacted requested no action, and 4% were indicated to go towards the food bank, and some others were towards the community group support. So it has to be said, like since the middle of May, that the food parcel scheme has met all of demand, and in fact in the last 2 weeks we have sent some food parcels. We have stopped some of the supply of food parcels from the DFC scheme because we were building up a supply, and I suppose in that sense the scheme has worked. We have in the last number of weeks phoned all of the recipients of the food parcels, 1,300 approximately people, to see you know, going forward and how the scheme worked for them and whatever. And there is an extent. One of the questions which we asked them, if the food parcel scheme, which is due to end, I have to say, on the 26th of June, do you feel you will need support beyond that date? And between 35 and 40% of them said yes, that there would be a continuing need after the 26th of June. So I suppose in meeting that need, we are collaborating with partners in the Department for Communities, the Western Health and Social Care Trust, DERA, and the community and voluntary sector to look at options to the continuing need post the 26th of June, when the official scheme from DFC comes to an end. There is a meeting tomorrow, a workshop with DFC, with all of the partners that are involved from the public sector in looking at what worked well and in looking at options about what happens after the 26th of June. And officers from Mananoma Council are involved in that workshop. And there is a further workshop, I think, planned for next Monday directly with the community and voluntary sector in looking at the same options and discussing it with them from the Departments of Communities point of view. And over to Kim with regard to funding.
Thank you. Kim, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just to start, in terms of the community funding programme, the emergency support, the Council with DFC support has provided emergency funding for the COVID-19 pandemic to support community groups in terms of providing support to vulnerable and isolated persons in the district. Funding is open and being accepted on a rolling basis in terms of applications. To date, in terms of paragraph 223, there is an update to the information provided in the report. We now have provided funding to 63 groups across the district, totaling almost 129,000. There was a further email sent to all members on Friday, the 5th of June, providing an update on the most recent allocation. We also have set aside, through a memorandum of understanding, an allowance of 13,230 to the rural transport providers who've supported the distribution work. And also we had entered into an SLA with a number of food banks, and we've set aside some funding amounting to 30,000 from that fund towards emergency food support. So there's an amount available for allocation currently at around £36,000. In terms of the support that is in place for food parcels through both the food parcel scheme and the food banks, we've now targeted allocations from that emergency fund towards other forms of support to address social isolation and emotional and mental health issues. Also, there has been an update in terms of existing grant streams, which I will address in paper B after this report. And then finally, the paper also outlines some of our communications activity over this period. And really, at this point then, in terms of the recommendations, we're recommending that the update report is noted, that a further update on the emerging DFC proposals for food parcels is presented to the July meeting of the committee, and that retrospective approval is granted for the COVID-19 emergency grant aid allocations issued since May.
Kim, thank you. Kim. Collier O'Coffey, do you wish to propose the recommendation?
Well, I'd rather make a proposal of my own, to be honest with you, Chair. And before I
dealing with the business in front of us, Councillor.
Oh, indeed, it is. It is related to it. I just want to start off by wishing you the best of the year, anyway. In terms of page 3, there is effectively, it seems to me, what has happened is that people who have applied for food aid have been basically a surplus of them. 365 households, 63 households have been basically refused to the point that 81% comes back and say they don't need any food aid. And then magically, we basically have a little 83 extra food parcels a week, and we managed to hit our target in terms of meeting need. It's not meeting need, of course. So I'd like to propose, if possible, that we contacted the department. Page 4 shows that 40% of those who've responded have indicated the need for continued support in the future. So I think we need to be demanding, really, that the department provides continued food parcels to those 40%. The 40% that have, some of these are elderly people who have letters telling them not to leave the house still, and it may be the case that they will have limited mobility into the future. So that's it is obviously a logic to continue in this. The second point really is that if we could write to them to request that they review what was in the food parcels, because I understand that the food parcels did not provide a balanced diet for people over a week. In many cases, they didn't provide hardly any protein, in my understanding. And the boxes were huge. They could have recycled those and saved money. So there are opportunities, I think, to improve. And then finally, a point, just a question, 2.33 social media analytics on page 6 of the first paper. It gives some figures in terms of our key analytics and so on. I'm wondering, was there a budget expenditure there in terms of to obtain those sort of results? Is there any breakdown of that? Thank you, Chair.
Collier, Kim, would you have any answer for Councillor O'Coffey?
Thank you, Chair. I'll revert to John in terms of the proposals around the food parcels question. But
sorry about that, Kim, putting you on the spot.
In terms
John?
of the social media analytics,
Sorry,
I could
yes,
maybe answer just to say that there was limited expenditure. Most of this was covered by our own in-house communications resource, but I can certainly bring information back to the next meeting in terms of specific budget allocation and expenditure.
And John, have you any answers at this stage?
Yeah, Chair, as I said, I suppose we are working in collaboration with the department to see what happens post 26th of June. Yes, it is a worry for us all that we could have, based on the figures, we could have somewhere in the survey, somewhere in the region of 400 or whatever that potentially say that they are in need of food post the 26th of June. But we are working in collaboration with all of the sectors in order to make sure that there is a process in place post 26th of June. In relation to what was in the food parcels, you know, it is clear what was in it. You know, you talk about protein. There was bread, there was pasta, and yes, there were a lot of dry goods because of the nature of the food, in that it had to last, or it had to be good for a week for people. But we can certainly write to them. But we are aware that there was a lot of tin products, corned beef, articles like that are in the food parcels.
John, and obviously if there was an issue with the health of the food parcels, communication with DFC maybe should have taken place before this. Councillor Armstrong, you wish to speak on this issue?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and really following on from Councillor Coffey's comments, that was the point I was picking up. In Table 2, the 295 who declared no action, these people demonstrably illustrated that they were in need of food parcels. And I think maybe I would like to propose that we write back to them and see, going forward with looking at poverty in the district, that to know what their needs are. These are people who may have been slower to react to the food parcels. That's my proposal. I wonder, would Councillor Coffey add that into his? Thank you.
Happy to do so.
And you're happy to second Councillor Coffey's proposal?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Happy to do so.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Erskine, you wish to pass a comment?
Yes, Chair. Thank you, and all the best for the year ahead. First of all, I just want to thank the Council for the work that they have been doing on this, because there is a very clear need, and there's just a couple of questions I want to ask just around it. Just for clarity, the 30,000 for the emergency food support, I know Kim had maybe mentioned some of it there, but is that to produce more food parcels, or where does that emergency money go to? Does that go out to food banks, you know, or is that for us to give more? Also, you know, in terms of those who have been needing the food parcels, and maybe we're going through the DFC, and you know, is it because there's no waiting list, is it potluck when the person phones to get a food parcel? And you know, that would just be some of my concerns on it, you know, that perhaps there was a waiting list and then the waiting list was taken away, and how do those people who are most at need reach these food parcels? If those questions could be answered, please, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair.
John has some response.
In relation to the last question there, with regard to what happens when a person phones, there are a number of questions which they are asked in triaging if the need for a food parcel, and yes, we have no ability to look at greater detail into their financial position, or indeed of their position with regard to family members or neighbours or whatever who can provide food to them. But the telephone calls were taken by the call handlers in a very sympathetic manner, and certainly all of those who requested the need at the start, until we got to the stage of where we had gone to over the 1,200 mark, were certainly referred for food parcels.
Thank you, John. And we eventually have, sorry.
Can I just come back on that?
If you make it very brief, we have quite a substantial list already. Councillor Erskine, quick retort.
And Chair, I understood the calls went through to DFC, and I understand the questions and things, but I suppose what I was getting at was, you know, there has been an oversubscribing of this. Where do people go now? You know, I know we can signpost them to community groups, but if we have 83 extra food parcels, what is the criteria? How are we making sure as a council, you know, I'm not sure if you get what I'm trying to say. Maybe in terms of this is there's 83 extra. How did we determine those 83 extra? You know, who are getting the food parcels, and if we're oversubscribed, you know, is it potluck or is there a waiting list that people are on at the moment?
Chair, no, there isn't a waiting list at the moment. And what we done with the extra food parcels that we got over and above the 1,200 when they came in was to identify those people who were on the waiting list and who had identified a need for food. And you can appreciate that on a continuing rolling basis, there were a number of people who were phoning, who were requesting food parcels. So it wasn't just, you know, an end point, but there was a continuing need coming in of X number per day. So those were triaged, and if they needed a food parcel, they also joined the scheme. So it was a continuing rolling flux. So it was positioned.
Okay, and next up, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor O'Reilly, we've got you at last, have we?
We have indeed. Thank you, Chair. Good to join you. Gremlin system. First of all, good luck to you in your year ahead, and welcome to John for my first time interacting with John as Director. Also, can I just tender for 6.3 and 6.8 FLT and planning? And my couple of questions. One is, what exactly are we doing with the food banks? I know that we're talking to the food banks now. What exactly are we doing for post the 26th of June? And in particular, I had put in a query about Lisnaskea Food Bank, and I had never got anything back as to what was happening with that. And can I make a proposal, Chair? And I presume, first of all, it would be to the department. We're coming to the approach of summer and school holidays, and schools are always a place where kids get fed normally, but it's a long summer when they are off, and it will equally be so this year. And the scheme to be able to supply some money, finance the school meal, I'm not sure if that's going to continue over the summer, and it would be vital for families that either that would, or we would put in place something else. And I would propose, Chair, that we would seek clarification from DE on that, and then be in a position to try to do something ourselves to be able to ensure that people in this council area are looked after. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, if I can just say, like, you know, in relation to post 26th of June, like I say, we are working in communication with the Department for Communities, and there is a workshop tomorrow in order to try and progress, you know, the outcome of what happens post 26th June. There is no doubt that there is a need in the community for whether it be food poverty or poverty in general. And that has been more than highlighted in the COVID crisis. So, you know, we are working with it, and hopefully we do hope to bring to a further meeting, you know, the proposals that will be put in place with DFC. It isn't just a council problem. I would contend. I think it is a wider interagency discussion that needs to take place, not just with the council, but also with the health trusts, with the department, and with other agencies also. What we don't want, I suppose, is to be left with carrying the complete need for food post the 26th of June, because that would be a burden both financially and in terms of resources on our council. In relation to Lisnaskea, we are actively interacting with the food bank in Lisnaskea, and we do. They are part of the scheme, and we do provide assistance to them in both in terms of financial terms and also the provision of food. School holidays. yes, it is an issue. If the fund for this free school meals were to dry up post the end of June, but we have Kim in our next paper will be bringing forward proposals with regard to setting up a fund post COVID or post the end of June.
Thanks, John. Next up is Collier McAleer.
Cormac, Sherlock, was there more for the year ahead?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think just supporting, I suppose, some of the previous speakers. I think the sentence at the start of page 4 there, that the demand for food parcels has been totally met from the scheme since mid-May, is quite a confusing one. Is that following the closure of the waiting list? Because from my awareness and interaction with people, I'm aware of families and individuals that were turned away from the scheme. So I don't think it's fair to say that the need has been totally met. I think that's quite misleading.
Sorry, Gumalashkil Akola. The report has been presented by the officers of the council. Are you questioning the veracity of the content of the report?
Yes, I'm trying to find out if
sorry, Councillor. If we proceed to question every dot and T on this report, we will continue all night discussing issues that could be discussed with the officers at a later stage. We're trying to get the business of the meeting done, and there's 3 recommendations have already been put forward. And there has been a proposal from Councillor O'Coffey, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Councillor O'Reilly has made a further proposal. We need a seconder for that to move the meeting on. And if I could suggest, if you do wish to go through the detail of the report and are questioning the veracity of it, you need to engage with the officers after the meeting, Councillor.
I'm pretty sure that's the what we're supposed to be doing here with respect, Chair. But if you don't want to hear about that point, I'll move on to my next point. That's fair enough.
It's not that I don't wish to, but if you start questioning the veracity of the report from the officers, that needs to be dealt with. The report has been with you for quite a few nights now, and maybe a phone call could have cleared the issue up previous to this. I'm trying to get through quite a hefty agenda here, and it is my first night. There is some other serious business to be discussed later on. We need brevity and not a total word by word analysis of the reports. It must be taken that the officers have, in good faith, sent these in front of us. So unless there's an issue with the whole report that you wish to object to the recommendation, you're quite free to do that in your vote at the end when the proposal is made for the recommendation. And any further analysis of the data after that, I think, could be brought up with the relevant officers. At this stage, we must take the report that's been with us since last Thursday or Friday as an accurate report. And so I don't think we should be going through line by line analysing every bit of the report. That's my opinion as the chair, and again, that is within my remit as the chair to indicate to you that I don't wish to proceed with a line by line dissemination of the report. And I've indicated to you a method of questioning the report with officers, either when you receive the report before the meeting, or indeed you're free to do so as a councillor after the meeting. You say you have another issue, councillor? Again, if you could make it brief, please. We have quite a lot of business.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose following on from the point raised by Councillor Coffey that the 39% of those in receipt of food parcels are still looking sort of additional support. That's definitely something that we need to look at, because that is only the people who have received the food parcels. We need to bear in mind those who haven't. And then an item, I know we've moved on to another, we've kind of covered 2 items in one there. In terms of the groups that received 126,000 worth of grant aid, can I ask what was the basis of those selections? Because obviously we're being...
Sorry, councillor. Again, you're coming in asking a question relating to how the council processes its grant aid. There is a grant aid panel. We have people working within the council. A phone call to the council, to the council building requesting that data is quite open to you at any time before a meeting or indeed after a meeting. But to start requesting how the council proceeds with grant aid in the middle of a meeting isn't, in my opinion, the correct procedure, feel free to phone Alison or email Alison for direction in where to go and how the analysis is done. There is a grant aid panel of which I'm a member and declared interest. Other councillors do the same. We oversee the granting of and we have been quite happy with the procedures that they have used. If you have questions like that, I'm afraid that's outside the remit of my committee that I see at the minute. So unless you have another issue, we will be moving to the recommendation. Or do you wish to second Councillor O'Reilly's proposal?
We're being asked to approve £126,000 worth of grant payers' money or ratepayers' money. It's a fair question.
Sorry, for accuracy, we got an update from Kim that we did get. Sorry, it's already gone through the process of the council. That's what the grant aid panel is for.
And we're not all members of the grant aid panel.
You get a report from the grant aid panel every month. Councillor, you can't come in and just try to rewrite the procedures of the council. The procedures we have already in place is there is a grant aid panel, and I'm sure, like yourself, you're on other subcommittees. You review the business presented to the committee. It's either accepted or rejected. It's at that stage or outside the committee meetings that you need to be questioning the whole process, and that information is freely available to any elected rep. So, sorry, I'm going to stop you there. Are you happy to propose or second, sorry, the proposal of Councillor O'Reilly?
No, thank you.
That's fair enough. Thank you, Collier. Councillor Deehan, Collier Deehan, or East?
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank John and Kim for their reports. I want to congratulate John on his appointment as Director. I wish him well for the future and look forward to working with him. I think this was a huge logistical task which was handled by the Council in conjunction with the outside bodies extremely well, and I think everyone deserves great credit for their hard work. Now, it is disappointing that this scheme is due to end on the 26th of June, and I hope that John, in his negotiations tomorrow and next week, will be able to bring us back some good news, because clearly there is a lot of need which continues out there in the community. Over this period, the need has been mainly for food, but as we approach, the autumn and winter months, I'm sure there will be a need in terms of fuel. As Kim has already alluded to, there is a need for social support, and I welcome that. I want to let Council know that there is an initiative from the Southwest GP Federation in conjunction with the Trust to refer families for social work support. These are social workers who have been stood down from their usual jobs, and they will be available as of this week for referrals from GPs for social support. So I hope that that will complement the work that Kim is proposing to take forward. And I just wanted to inform members of that so that they could inform their constituents. I do feel that we need to redouble our efforts to try to get this scheme either extended by DFC or some other mode of funding, because we have to find a way of meeting need. If the formally proposed to do so now, and
sorry, Gumalash Josephine, we lost you a minute there, and there was another microphone unmuted for a second there. Could you again start your discussion about the proposal? Josephine? Councillor Deehan? We have a technical hitch. Right, Councillor Deehan, I will allow you back in again. I see Councillor Garrity is next on my list. Josephine, if you do indicate again, we will try to bring you back in if necessary. Councillor Garrity.
Thank you, Chair, and it is all going so well there. And can I just thank John and Kim for the report. I'm happy to second Councillor O'Reilly, Tommy, thank you very much. Keep me right for his proposal. And anyway, we can improve these schemes the better. And in the absence of good television in this crisis, I appreciate your help tonight on live stream. And I also am happy to propose a report. So thank you, Tommy, Chair.
Collier Garrity. Donal, you're on the list again, but I'm actually going to go to Seamus Green because he hasn't already spoken. Donal, I will return to you. Councillor Green, in the meantime.
Thanks, Tommy. And congratulations for the chair and good luck for the year. And to John, glad to see you there. I think me and you has met before in a previous life. So hopefully this will be maybe more cordial.
Please don't reminisce about football, Dave. Right, lad, away you go.
But no, it was just on up until now. I think there has been almost a negative, and I know councillors has the right to question things and that, but there has been a very negative approach by councillors so far around this scheme, and I have had nothing but praise from anybody that was on it. They were absolutely delighted with it. They couldn't thank the council enough. I got the word back that it was one of the best things the council ever did, and to be honest, I didn't put them past that it was the department who was fussed because it's not often the council gets the brownie points for things. So just one question, John. I think you said about that there was some parcels was ended up being handed back. Would there been a possibility if there was spare parcels at some stage that they would be actually delivered to the community groups that got funding, to buy parcels themselves to deliver? Because I know a number of community groups and clubs and that did that, and it would maybe have saved their money to made it stretch out a wee bit longer if there had been spare parcels that could have been delivered to them that was already making up parcels and delivering.
Thank you, Seamus. John, have you any indication on that comment?
Chair, we did distribute quite a number of parcels, hundreds of parcels to the food banks that were in excess of what we needed at a certain time. So we are doing that. We're actively looking at where those can go. It's just happened that we had a large spike of parcels that we got, and therefore we requested that one of our deliveries was cancelled.
Thanks for that, John. And I'd like to echo what Councillor Green said. All the reports I got about the food parcels was very good, and people were very satisfied, and community groups and all seem to have performed very well during the COVID-19. Again, a lot of councillors are seem to be addressing the poverty in the district as opposed to this report about our response to the COVID-19 poverty issue. So as maybe we will certainly be returning to the poverty in the area at a later date. Anne-Marie Donnelly, you haven't spoken, so I'll let you in at this stage.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank John and Kim for all the efforts of them and their team for getting these food parcels out to the people. Again, I've had a very positive response in my community from people that have been in contact with the council staff, and council staff have gone to every effort to either signpost them, get them food parcels, whatever. They've been great. So I welcome the multi-agency approach. I do think it's a multi-agency task. This isn't just a council issue. So
certainly not.
So I welcome the workshop that John has mentioned that's happening tomorrow. So that'll be great.
Anne-Marie, thanks for that.
The recommendations in the report.
Thank you very much for that, Anne-Marie. That's it. Thank you. Barry, Councillor Michael Duff, Collier Michael Duff, right, lad.
Thank you, Chair. Just to be brief, can I also commend volunteers out there, the voluntary groups and the role they have played throughout our council area in assisting variously with this scheme. And they've been distributing food and prescriptions. I won't go into the detail of that, but just to recognise the role of voluntary groups, and in particular, in my experience in the Oma area, St Vincent de Paul have been immense. And I think they and others are flagging up the continuous need on our part to feed the food banks. I think this is something we'll be returning to even throughout the autumn. given the projections. Thank you, Chair.
And Collier Swift.
Goramagat, I didn't think I would be in so quickly. That's good. Thank you, Tommy. And just to share a lot of the sentiment that and to thank Kim and John for their very concerted efforts in ensuring that those who had applied most certainly received. And I was reassured to hear that the excess was then distributed to food banks. But I would also like to highlight where there are the gaps and of course the insufficiency of investment that came in the first place, especially to our sparse geographical rural area. I don't need to go over old ground of where we're always the poor relation when it comes to the investment, and it is unfortunate that the requirement was more than what was I suppose allocated, and I think the points in those areas most definitely have to be listened to. And I'm reassured hearing and listening to John there that this multi-agency approach must prevail, and that's quite right, because this burden cannot fall onto the council. This is a central government responsibility again to address inadequacies and insufficiencies. So Goramagat, I'm very well done, Tom. And as McElduff is after saying there, Councillor McElduff, I should say, to commend the unsung heroes in our community, those who do not get the credit and those who don't publicise themselves on social media for delivering the same. So very well done to all of those people.
And thanks for that, Councillor. I'm sure we'll all be revisiting the COVID-19 efforts of the community groups at a later stage, hopefully when we're post-COVID. Catherine Kelly, I see. Please, Collier Kelly.
Thank you. And in the coming year, Tammy, I know you do a great job there chairing the committee. I just want to repeat, I know it's very repetitive, but I do want to acknowledge this is great work that the council did, and we need to acknowledge that, and we need to acknowledge the officers, particularly Kim and John and everyone else there at the council, for doing something really remarkable in our community during a crisis. And I'll take the opportunity also to congratulate the people of Carrickmore and Mid Tyrone, and in particular the Termon COVID response team, who undertook food distribution, prescriptions, and did home repairs for people. So just that very quick, Tommy, there.
Catherine, now before I move on, we have a proposal for Councillor O'Coffey, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. All agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. And then we further had a proposal from Councillor O'Reilly and seconded by Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, I believe. Oh, sorry, Catherine Kelly.
Gardaí.
Oh, I'm very sorry, Mary. It's that long since you spoke to me. Yeah, Councillor Gardaí, apologies there. So it has been proposed and second, O'Reilly and Gardaí, councillors. All agreed?
Agreed.
Right. No, well, I didn't hear any discontent, so we're happy enough to move on. Thank you very much for that. Now we move on to item 6.1, update of the grant aid for groups and individuals for the year 2020 to 2021. And it's over to Kim. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Chair. Paper B then is a report in terms of grant aid. It has council powers conferred to the committee for this item, and the purpose of the report is to advise members of the proposed arrangements for allocation of council grants in the 2021 financial year. As you all know, a call for grant aid opened in January 2020 before the pandemic really took hold, and this report really is seeking permission to discontinue that initial call with a small number of exceptions, and then to refocus the programme to provide financial support to address emerging community needs. Approval is sought to open a rolling call for grant aid for the 2021 financial year, with the call for applications opening on the 30th of June, and with 3 closing dates then within that scheme of 20th of July, 21st of September, and 20th of November, subject to the availability of funding. And the report also notes that Support NI has informed the Council that it will be withdrawing funding to the Council for this financial year from its Everybody Active Small Grants programme to redirect that funding to its Sports Hardship Fund in respect of COVID-19. So the key issues have listed there the various streams within the first grant aid call on the 15th of January. We did have a total of 537 applications to that. We're seeking approval to discontinue that process with the exceptions of the Community Services Revenue Grant Aid. That has already been approved at the May Council meeting. Alongside that, the Community Services Project Development Grant Aid, the Community Services Seating Grants and the Remembering and Commemoration Grants will all be retained. In terms of the remaining streams, it's anticipated that many of the existing applicants will wish to review and reshape their programmes and activities and to resubmit applications to the revised funding programme to take account of the new conditions and restrictions around COVID-19. So we're proposing a new grant stream called a Recover Grant Aid Programme. It will cover a number of streams and really is around supporting groups to support the recovery and reanimation activities in terms of their recovery plan. There's 7 principles which are outlined at the top of page 3 around that programme, and it is open to organisations involved in arts, community and sports across the district. This programme is in addition to our COVID-19 emergency funding package, which remains open on a rolling basis. And alongside this funding programme, officers from Community Health and Leisure will work with groups to support the recovery planning efforts in terms of determining how they can take forward their activities. In terms of finances, the overall budget for the programme will be determined through the imminent process to review council budgets, and I know there's a workshop to begin that work tomorrow. And it is recommended that the committee notes the withdrawal of the Sport NI funding for the Everybody Active Small Grants programme for the 2021 financial year, discontinues the call for grant aid, the first call for grant aid in 2021 with the exceptions noted, and that a revised call for grant aid for 2021 is opened based on the Recover funding stream, which is outlined in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kim. And item 8, the recommendations. Anyone to propose the recommendation there? Donald Coffey.
Chair.
Oppose.
Sorry, indicate again, please.
Sorry, Chair, I got my hand up to have a comment there, please.
Right, Councillor McCann, go on ahead.
Yeah, happy to propose the recommendation, Chair. Just a point of clarity in relation to the withdrawal of funding from Sport NI. Later on in the agenda, 6.8, there's a reference to accepting a letter of offer for a similar vein of funding. So just get clarity around that, Chair, and providing that's in order, I'm happy to propose the recommendation. I suppose no one could see just a short while ago where we're at now, and the council, I suppose, must react to where we're at, and more than happy to endorse the work of our officers around us.
Good morning, Stephen, and just to explain that this is the work that it's actually double the work that's having to be done now by the council officers to rejig the funding due to the impacts of the COVID-19 on all aspects. Do you want to add to that, Kim, or will we wait later in the agenda, maybe?
No, I can clarify the point about the letter of offer in the report, which is later in the agenda. That relates to additional funding which was made available in the 2019-20 year, but that letter of offer didn't come through until March. And the offer then for the entirety of 2021's from Sport NI for the small grants programme is withdrawn.
Thank you, Kim. Happy enough, Stephen, with that response. Councillor Coffey, you wish to add something? Or second the proposals?
Yeah, it was just 2 points. First, in terms of page 2, the listing of the grants that we are continuing, or we've pulled, and the exceptions, and it's really just to clarify what is the rationale for bringing forward the exceptions, and in particular, I'm wondering whether those exceptions are actually funded externally. That would be 2 questions there. And the second point really is around recover, which I think is a good idea. But I'm just wondering, considering the strain in terms of community resilience or integration, whether the idea that we should have a specific objective included in this recover to address communities who are currently perhaps adversely impacted, particularly by the current COVID crisis, such as the ethnic minority community in particular, I would have thought. So I'm wondering if that, and proposing whether that could be included. Thank you, Chair.
You're happy to second the recommendations, Councillor, with that clarification?
Well, I'm really looking for the clarification on the first point first. Thank you.
Right. And sorry, Councillor, if I could just, again, similar to what I said to Councillor Michael here, we have had these minutes since Thursday or Friday evening. Just those questions of issues as regards the management of the decisions, perhaps maybe a phone call prior to the actual meeting. The business here is actually to agree the recommendations and ask questions and scrutinise, obviously. But in specific management decisions, like how the officers have decided this or that, maybe a query before the meeting would speed up the meeting, if you don't mind. But happy enough to let Kim in there to explain if she has any explanation at this stage.
Okay, Chair. Well, the revenue grant date is already dealt with. These are the exceptions. The project development grant is really retained so that we can give some support to groups in terms of their activities looking forward, and the work that's needed to work towards bringing projects forward. So it's really taken that longer term view. The seeding grants is an ongoing programme, and it's really to help establish new groups who may have emerged even as a result of the pandemic. And the Remembering Commemoration is really just in recognition of the time that's ahead of us, and a lot of work that has been done to develop some of those projects. Recover Grant Aid, I think that certainly any group, that programme will be open to any group to apply, and that will include disadvantaged groups and ethnic community groups and others. It's a very inclusive approach that will be taken to taking that programme forward.
Thanks for that, Kim. Now, I see quite a few names up on the Clár here. We have a proposal and a seconder for the recommendation to adopt the report. Unless there's some councillor with...
Don't think we have a seconder.
Sorry. Go on. Yeah. Just to clarify, Councillor Coffey, you were happy to second the recommendation, yeah?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you. I see other councillors there. Is it on this issue? Councillor Fitzgerald?
No, Tom, I just wanted to come in and second that proposal, but it's done now. Thank you.
That's already done. All right. Okay. I'm accepting that we have the recommendation proposed and seconded, and I'm happy enough to move on, unless somebody wants to dive in with some objection to the recommendation. I'm moving on to the next item.
Tom, I have no objection, but I have 1 point for Kim, if I may, and I will be very quick. And
very, very quickly, please. Once we have it recommended and seconded, we should be moving on.
Yeah, well, it's just Kim, and that fund means an awful lot to everybody in the community, and thanks for that, and thanks for rejigging the situation to cope with the crisis we are in. But just, it has been mentioned to me on a number of occasions, the letter of offer, there's a bit in it where in the terms and conditions where people of a local nature can't benefit, and because we are of a local nature, all of us, I wonder, Kim, could you advise if any wording could be put in that part of the letter of offer where members of committee don't feel in a precarious situation that they're accepting that, or advice maybe that you could give them, because by nature local businesses or stores will be feeding into getting some supplies rather, and I do know some people are concerned with it, so maybe a wording we could put in the letter of offer or advice, Kim, and that's my only concern. Thank you, Tommy.
Good Margaret, Mary. Slightly along the lines in response to other councillors, Mary, a phone call to Kim may have clarified that issue without raising it at the committee, but now you have. Obviously, I will Kim to give you an answer, please.
Thank you.
Well, we can certainly look at the wording on the letter of offer, but I suppose the wording in terms of the terms and conditions is really pretty generic and really reflects guidance on the use of public money and best practice around accountability and transparency. But I can certainly come back in terms of how we could maybe reflect that in that wording.
Thank you for that response. And if we could move on now to item 6.2 on the agenda, the local full fibre network progress update. And again, this is an update.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Kim, please. Thank you, Kim.
Okay. And again, just to note that council powers have been delegated to the committee for this item, and it's an update report in progress of the cross-council consortium for Wave 3 of the local full fibre networks programme, and the council has previously given approval to participate in that consortium bid. This is really around supporting digital infrastructure development across Northern Ireland, and I suppose it should be very welcome at this time in terms of the situation that many have found themselves in, the reliance on digital infrastructure. Funding of 15 million has been secured, and this funding will be used to install ultra-fast fibre gigabit broadband in approximately 78 public sector sites across the district. The aim of the project is that these sites will act as anchor sites and stimulate then the further rollout of full fibre broadband into other properties. There has been an additional application to the Department for Rural Gigabit Connectivity Programme as well, similar to the local full fibre network, but it specifically targets rural areas, and that is likely to bring benefits of up to £8 million in funding for the consortium for rural sites. In recent months, the Full Fibre Consortium has been expanded to include the Business Services Organisation, and they will use the grant funding also to connect health sites, for example, doctor surgery and fire and ambulance sites across the district. And the involvement of the BSO increases the likelihood and strengthens the application to the Rural Gigabit Connectivity Funding Programme. And they have included approximately 29 sites in the district in the procurement exercises. The timetable sets out the procurement exercises, which are being taken forward in 2 procurements for rural and urban sites, and the time frame which is associated with those procurements. And following the assessment of those tenders, a contractor will be appointed, and there will be a contract entered into by each of the consortium councils. So Fermanagh and Omagh District Council will enter into its own contract for this service provision. This infrastructure will also be amalgamated into the council's wide area network services, and that will bring some improvements with a number of scenarios, but the most likely outcome being that if there are any additional costs for the higher bandwidth connectivity, that will be negated by the overall funding investment in infrastructure. So the overall cost effect in terms of our wide area network services will be cost neutral. And we will have improved service via higher bandwidth. There are very strict funding timelines for claiming the funding, and expenditure after the funding deadlines cannot be claimed. This has brought about a very challenging delivery timescale for the project, and it's imperative then that the council is ready to approve the contract award quickly in early July so that implementation can start as soon as possible, and we avoid any particular risks around delaying the contract. Paragraphs 2.3 and 2.4 set out some of the process around that, and the funding streams in terms of the process of awarding the contract and at the same time applying to DCMS for the necessary checkpoint C approvals, which will bring about the confirmation then of final funding awards. DCMS has indicated that it's likely to extend the funding deadline to account for COVID-19, but there is no confirmation at this stage of that actually being in place. So we're still working on the basis that there's a high risk that a delay to the sign-off process will affect our ability to award a contract quickly and then to deliver against the timescales. So this project really brings about the potential of high quality digital infrastructure to the district. And in addition, there may be some costs associated with new equipment required to light up the gigabit capable fibre at various council properties. That may come in at £75,000, and at the moment the cost for that is still being considered by DCMS as an eligible project cost. At this stage, we're asking that the council gives approval to note the update on the project firstly, and to allow us to proceed to award the contract to the successful bidder or bidders to ensure that there is no delay to the delivery of this project and funding is not lost to the district in terms of improving this digital infrastructure. Thank you, Chair.
Kim, a very comprehensive report. Quite a few councillors wish to speak on it. Again, just for clarification, this is not 5G. It is. I've been asked to say that so that nobody goes off track. Councillor Kelly, Catherine Kelly, Collier Kelly.
Thank you, Kim, for that report. I would like to propose that we accept the recommendations in the report, but I'd also like to propose that we reconvene the broadband group as soon as possible so that we can, talk a little bit more about this and be ready for July if that is the date.
Catherine, and that's actually a little note that I have down here to refer this to the broadband working group for further discussion as required. Collier Gannon, you wish to say something?
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Can
you hear me there? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Gannon, I asked you, were you prepared to second the recommendation just for...
That's exactly what I was going to say, sorry. I'm happy to second both the recommendation and that proposal from Councillor Kelly. It's a brilliant intervention that we see here, especially with the targeting of rural areas, whereas obviously I welcome the urban part as well. But I think there's lessons to be learned that maybe Project Stratum could take from targeting our rural areas as well. But very good, happy to second and good proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor, thank you. And Corla McAleer.
Yeah, thanks for letting me. I'm glad to hear that it's not 5G related. I'm just wondering, in terms of the timetable that's presented to us, the dates given are fairly close. There's dates the 5th of June for the announced intention to award of the rural sites. So I'm wondering if we have had any further information in that, given that they've noted there may be COVID-19 related delays, but none have been identified to date. And a second question, I suppose, whether council or councillors have been privy to the proposed locations at present of the siting of these new infrastructure. Just thanks, Chair.
Well, would you have information on the siting at this stage? I would.
There has been a list of sites identified in terms of but I can bring that information to the next meeting of the Broadband Working Group. And just also to note that there's no announcement yet in terms of that contract award from the 5th of June. They're still finalising the assessment.
Right. Now, I have three more on my list. I see one councillor that will be delighted to talk about any extension of the broadband in the area. Eamon, go ahead first, please.
Yeah, it's great to see the local. There's two programs there: the local full fibre network and the rural gigabit connectivity. I know you've said it's not 5G, but I'm just wondering, could I get more information on the rural gigabit connectivity, how that's going to work? Like the full fibre is probably self-explanatory, but with the push to get it done by early July. Much information we could get on that RGC rural gigabit connectivity.
Right. Thanks for your question. I don't think we'd have an answer. Are we happy enough to answer at this stage? Yeah, Kim is armed up with the answer for you already, Eamon. Thank you.
Both are for fibre connectivity, and they're really two separate funding streams, but really the same procurement and the same actual works contract. Just funded by two separate streams.
Okay, Collier. And Councillor Swift, Collier Swift. I've never heard you speaking about broadband before, Councillor.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here delighted, of course, naturally, and thank you for that. Thank Kim for that report. And I had understood it to be certainly all about fibre. So if there was any ambiguity at all about 5G, I'd certainly like that highlighted, but it wouldn't have been my understanding in that. I'm definitely all for rural gigabit connectivity, but it has to be to our better betterment and the health standards, of course. I am concerned about the challenging timescale that Kim has outlined, but I know we shall deliver, and I would not like to think that COVID-19 would be used as any excuse by any higher departmental level to deliver this, which is undoubtedly an essential service. If it has ever been proven to be an essential service, it most definitely has during this time. And of course, all of it has to be cost effective. And I look forward to a higher bandwidth in our whole super council area. So Guramagat, and well done, everybody.
Bernice, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with your connectivity tonight. Thank you for that. And Catherine Kelly, Councillor Kelly, Collier Kelly, you're still indicating, is that a hand left up perhaps? Okay, I'll take it that your hand is left up, Catherine, in error. We have a proposal on the seconder for the recommendation proposed by Councillor Catherine Kelly. Thank you, Councillor Kelly, and seconded by Councillor Gannon. All agreed? Gurmayagov, moving on swiftly. Agreed. Thank you. Item 6.3, report of the planning performance statistical reports for Q3 of 2019-2020, a statistical report of our planning.
Thank you, Chair. This is, as you say, just a statistical report. It has been considered at the May Planning Committee. And just to note that the Council has again met all three of its statutory performance targets, one of only two councils who's done so. And the information is set out in all of the appendices about performance across all of those targets. And it's recommended that the Council notes the report.
Could I have a proposal to note the report? Councillor Feely. Collier Feely.
Thank you, Kerry. Happy to propose it, Tommy. I'm good to work with it.
Gurmayagad, Anthony. Councillor Erskine.
Chair, just happy to second that, and well done on the job you're doing. I'm nearly afraid to speak tonight, so you're doing
Certainly, I will not stifle your right to speak at anything, but we're not going to rehash information that doesn't need to be dealt with at the committee, if I can at all. Thanks for that, Councillor Erskine. A second in that. Councillor Armstrong, you've indicated to speak on it.
Thank you, Chair. No, just to say, yes, exceptional performance again by the planning department. I was going to second it, but well done, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Diana. Collier McAleer, you've indicated.
Yeah, I suppose there's a couple of things that jump out in there. One being that we continue to receive the highest number of renewable energy applications. I know we have sort of ongoing issues with the siting and location of wind turbines in this district area, and I suppose the fact we've reached saturation point for that. But the other is to do with 2.4, something that caught my eye in relation to ammonia, concerns around ammonia for intensive livestock units. And there's a note there that following withdrawal of SES advice and the judicial review of that advice, it's hoped that these applications can now progress to a decision to reduce, and this is under applications that have been in the system for over a year. Is there any further information just available on those intensive livestock units? I know this is an agricultural area, and agriculture and farming is something we would be very supportive of on a family farm basis, but the intensive farming is something that is a very real threat to the environment. So I'm just wondering if we have any more information available on that. It's item 2.4 on page 2 of the attachment.
Right, Councillor Allison, you wish to respond to that there? Again, I would ask you, Councillor, to deal with the specifics of the recommendation in front of the committee, and if you wish for further information relevant to the report, maybe you could seek it out with council officers prior to the meeting, but Allison is happy enough to respond to you at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just to say very briefly, the issue was that we were unable to determine any of these applications pending the judicial review, and the fact that that has now been withdrawn, it means the applications will come forward to committee for determination, and as you've said, Chair, will be dealt with on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, Gurmayagad, Alison. Thank you, Alison. Anthony Feely, you're still on my list. Is that a hand left up in error, or do you wish to add to it? I'll take it that that was a hand error, Anthony. I'm moving on. We have a proposal for the recommend. Sorry, who's that?
Councillor Wilson, Bert Wilson here.
Go ahead, Bert.
Yes, I would like to ask some of the councillors how they define an intensive farmer to start with. And I have
sorry, Bert. Like I've tried to indicate all night, we're not going to address the whole workings of how we've come to the recommendation. If you have questions specific to planning issues or that, please ask either phone the planners or somebody else prior to the meeting. We're dealing with the recommendation, which is the statistical report. It's there. You've had it since Friday. It's been proposed and seconded by Anthony Feely and Councillor Erskine, and all agreed? Great. Thanking you. Moving on, if everyone's happy enough. Item 6.4. Somebody could mute their microphone, please. There, we're getting feedback. An amendment to Statement of Community Involvement. 6.4.
Excuse me, the papers from last week. He says, why didn't you contact?
Sorry, Councillor Robinson, I believe you're reading papers in the middle of the meeting there, from what we can hear. So maybe you'd mute your microphone. Thank you, Paul. We'll try again. 6.4, amendment to Statement of Community Involvement. And that's Kim again.
Thank you, Chair.
On our first night.
This report is setting out an amendment to the revised Statement of Community Involvement, and it's really taking account of the COVID-19 situation to facilitate public access to inspect plan documents. As provided for in legislation, the Council must provide hard copies of plan documents for inspection by the public at the Council's principal offices and during normal office hours. The revised SCI does provide for this by specifying the Connect centres at Enniskillen and Omagh as the two locations where the documents can be inspected. However, due to COVID-19, these two offices remain closed to the public. So in order to continue to meet our statutory commitment to facilitate this, it's proposed to add a statement to the SCI, which is outlined at Appendix 2, and that will specify that appointment-only inspections may be made to the two registry offices at County Buildings Enniskillen and at the Grange Omagh, while restrictions remain in place. The statement will be inserted after the contents page. And the recommendation then is that the Council agrees that amendment to the revised SCI.
And we have Collier Donnelly, Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose the recommendation.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Is that all, Anne-Marie? Thank you. And Eamon again, Lanneray, lad. Eamon?
So forget the public consultations there. Would it be possible to, instead of booking your place, to have like somewhere like an open place, and you could have limited numbers in at one time, so the public could have access at all times within certain periods?
Chair, the reason for the amendment is to do with the restrictions that are available within public buildings at the moment, and to facilitate the ease of access for the members of the public, so that they can view them by appointment, and this will take account of COVID-19 restrictions around hygiene and social distancing.
The appointment process, how long in advance do you have to book the appointment? Or
Again, Councillor, I'm going to interject at that point. This information that you're asking at the committee meeting could have been requested from any of the people in the town hall. As I say, the minutes are out since Thursday or Friday evening. If you had a question of that nature, maybe a phone call could have been made beforehand. It would facilitate us getting this business done. The reason that I'm in such a hurry this evening, just for everyone, is that a lot of what's on the agenda is in relation to the restrictions from COVID-19. If this meeting is protracted, we will be dealing with COVID-19, perhaps in a situation where the restrictions will already have been relieved, which would be a ridiculous position for the council to be in. So hence the reason I'm trying to push things on as fast as I can. I could suggest if you have a further inquiry, Eamon, you could maybe ring Kim.
I understand.
Up with that, Eamon. Sorry about that, but I just need to get the meeting finished as quick as we can. Collier Curry.
Siobhan. Yeah, I'm happy to second that. I think it's quite straightforward.
Gormagget.
What you want? That's exactly what we want. Now we have Corlia McCann again. It's been proposed and seconded now, unless you have something vital.
My hand has been duly lowered, Chair.
Who, Stephen? That's the style. Paul Robinson, your hand is in the air. Thank you. Corey McAleer already been in on this issue, I believe. Haven't we? No, maybe.
No, not in this one.
Not in this one. Go ahead. Try again, Emmett.
I would like to have made a proposal to that, and you, like, I had my hand up there. I know you've taken a seconder for it, but to my mind, it makes sense that if we're restricting the amount of people that can view this at any one time, it makes sense that we then extend it.
Sorry, Councillor. Again, as I said to Eamon before that, if you have a point to make from you receive the minutes until the actual meeting is held.
I'm making a proposal, Chair.
Your proposal's kind of lost now that we've had a recommendation and a second.
Well, it would make sense to listen to
proposal would be sorry
actually propose and second a motion, Chair.
Sorry, if you make a proposal at this stage, it's contrary to the report, and really we're dealing with the report as it is.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
What's the nature of your proposal again?
It makes sense to listen to the people who wish to speak on each item before you force through a proposer and a seconder on each item, Chair.
I'm in the chair, Emmett, and I decide that if we're trying to get through
any doubt about who's in the chair.
Right, I'm glad to hear it, and I have 12 months of it. Thankfully, I look forward to all the engagements that we will have over the 12 months. But I'm happy again to repeat, we're not going to start to strip down a report that's been made and there's a recommendation there. If you're quite free to object to the recommendation at the end of it, and given that it's already been proposed and seconded, I'm moving on.
Well, then, I object to it. I would like to add a proposal to it. If you want to take on a vote on it, that's fair enough. If it gets voted down, that's fair enough. It's a very simple proposal that because there's restricted viewing to these documents, that we extend the deadline for the submission of them. It makes sense that if we're limiting the number of people that can view it at one time, surely we extend the overall deadline in the interest of transparency and openness and accountability.
Could I just note that there's no intention? Could I just note that there's no intention to restrict the number of people who can view the document? It's really just a matter of process in terms of making arrangement for appointments, and we will facilitate appointments for any requests that we have.
Kim, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to clarify.
Through the chair, Councillor. Through the chair, Councillor.
Sorry, through the chair.
Thank you.
Is there a deadline for this process currently planned? Is there currently a deadline for it?
Right, that information, Kim just doesn't have it to hand. I will sure that Kim will respond to you tomorrow. Okay. There's nothing in this.
Suggesting my proposal is to extend that deadline because I know what I'm saying, that we're not trying to limit the number, but due to circumstances, there is a de facto limit on the number of people who can view this information at any one time.
Well, as far as I'm aware, the people must ring in and make appointments. So therefore, if the people have already indicated the need to make appointment, I don't think they'll be turned away at the door. But I see the Chief Executive indicating that maybe she has some advice on it.
Chair, it's just to say that the timelines generally are drawn from the statutory guidance. So the issue around any of the information is that's why there's the time-bound nature to it. Now, from what I can understand, what we've done in the past, and this might assist Councillor McAleer, is that if it is apparent that there are additional representations or time is insufficient, it can be accommodated. The difficulty in leaving it open-ended is that we can't then report back to the department on performance related to it. I would suggest, as you've mentioned, Chair, this is linked specifically to the COVID regulations. We would keep the appropriateness of this under review, as you're required to do as a council in any case.
Happy enough with that, Corlia McAleer?
Thanks for that, Chair, and thanks for that.
No need for your proposal then. Thank you, Paul Robinson, Corlia Robinson. Sorry, Councillor Robinson.
I'm going to second it, Chair.
Right, good man. Thanks for that, Paul. We already have it. Councillor Wilson, you have your hand raised? We start the discussion, or will we move on? Hand down. Is it down? Yeah. Oh, still up. Councillor Wilson, do you wish to add to the discussion? I'm taking your silence, Bert, that you're not prepared to speak on it. Okay. We have a... Sorry? Is that you, Councillor Wilson? Sorry, Councillor Wilson, I can't hear you. I think we'll move on. We have a proposer, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, and we have a seconder, Councillor Curry. Polio Curry. Everyone happy enough? Any objections? Silence is golden. Moving on to item 6.5. 6.5 is a draft response to Gaeltech Energy Services scoping request for a proposed 110 kilovolt, I presume, substation to serve Drumlands Park wind farm. This again is positioned in County Monaghan, but is through notification to our council area and relevant to some of us perhaps. I see we have Councillor O'Reilly already, but we will listen to Kim first. Kim, have you anything to add?
Well, the correspondence is attached to the report. The deadline for submitting responses to the consultation is the 24th of June. There are a number of points set out in the report around likely environmental impacts, and really the recommendation is that the committee submits a response to Gaeltech Energy Services outlining the points set out in the report in advance of the deadline, and that we also request that a landscape and visual impact assessment of the proposed development is provided to include assessments from all critical viewpoints within the Fermanagh and Omagh District Council area.
Kim and Corlo O'Reilly, go ahead, Thomas.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to propose that, Chair, with just the addition that we might look for some assurances about we sort of understand the difficulties with broadband and mobile signal and television signal in these areas, and that maybe that could be also taken into account when we're putting in the submission.
Okay.
That has been duly noted, Councillor. And could I have a seconder, please? Councillor McCloughery, would you like to second?
Yes, I'd like to second that with the amendment.
With Thomas's request for further information. That happy enough. Victor, keep it brief if you could, Victor. I know it's relevant to your area.
Well, I was just going to come in to second to Tommy, but I put my hand down again.
Quite happy. Thanks for that, Victor. And Collier Green, are you in the same vein, I hope?
Just a quick question to Kim. In around the rural proofing, I was reading that there and I'm finding it difficult to understand, but just in general, the reports on the rural proofing right through the report is very thin. And I think I had requested back a number of meetings ago that maybe the rural proofing would be a wee bit more with a bit more beef on it.
Is that in relation to all reports coming to you, to the committee from now on, Seamus?
Yeah, well, that was a proposal that was made, I think, a couple of months ago in around rural proofing, and in particular where there was one or two that actually hadn't any rural proofing done on it. So it's legislation, and it's we're supposed to do it. Even when we are doing it, it's very thin on the ground. You know, it doesn't seem to, you know, have much.
Right. Seamus, yeah. Point duly made and noted. Kim will respond to you now.
There will be a report coming to Future Policy and Resources Committee from Policy and Strategic Services around our application of rural proofing. And I suppose just in terms of this report, to note that it doesn't apply to, this is not a council policy or strategy, so rural proofing is not required in respect of this item.
Thanks for that, Kim. Happy enough, Seamus. Councillor Robinson.
Okay, Chair.
You're gone. And Corlo O'Reilly, do you want to come back in, Tomas? Happy enough, Tom? Just the hand left up, is it? Right, I'll take the silence as that. So we have the proposed by Councillor O'Reilly and seconded by Councillor McCloughery. Everyone in agreement? You. Right.
Agreed.
Agreed. Thanking you for that. Silence is an indicator. Thank you. Agenda item 6.6, the update report on meeting of the Agriculture Liaison Group.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Again, please.
This report relates to update members on the Agriculture Liaison Group meeting held on the 28th of May. The group considered correspondence, which is also listed on tonight's papers, in terms of item 8.4 from NILGA and 852 from DAERA. There are a number of actions outlined at paragraph 2.1, which were identified by the group and which approval is now sought to progress. And just at 2.2, there had been a recommendation to write to the DAERA Minister in respect of the £25 million funding for beef and dairy sectors. And the council meeting at the 2nd of June has already agreed to take forward that recommendation. In terms of the recommendation, it's recommended that the actions identified by the Agriculture Liaison Group outlined at 2111 to 214 are approved.
Thanks for that, Kim. And we have a recommendation accordingly. Have we someone to propose? Councillor Robinson?
Yeah, I'm here, Tommy.
Oh, sorry, Anthony. Sorry, Councillor Robinson's at the top of the list. Anthony, if you could hold fire a wee second, please.
I'll propose.
Right. And go ahead, Anthony Feely, now, please.
Thank you, Kahiri. And sorry, I forgot to mention last time I was in. I congratulate John Boyle on his new job and wish him the best luck. Well, I was going to propose, but happy to second. And I'm just glad that the letter that I proposed that went to Minister Poots has gone. Just when I am talking, I just wanted to other councillors know that in the assembly today, a motion was passed today to include beef and sheep farmers in the 25 million COVID scheme. So it was great for that, and some of our MLAs were talking on it. But funnily enough, the DUP MLAs voted against it for some unknown reason. I just wanted to throw that out there. And happy to second, Tommy.
Thanks for that, Anthony. So we have Councillor Coffey. Do you wish to speak on this? No, it is simply a report.
Yes, I still do. There's an issue under measure item 2.11, which is in relation to new legislation on food standards, and obviously we're all aware that the DAERA minister's party has backed measures which fundamentally undermine food standards as a precursor to potentially a race to the bottom trade deal with the United States and other countries. So I would like to propose that we write to the Minister for Agriculture and ask him how he can justify a stance which fundamentally undermines agriculture in this country.
Right, we have a proposal from Donald to write to the Minister of Agriculture.
Well, can I come in on that, Tommy? It was something that I was going to elaborate, and Councillor Green and Councillor Robinson can keep me right here. We had a discussion at the agricultural meeting, and discussion did take place regarding the recent MP bill at Westminster, of which cheap imports would see the lowering of food standards for this country, and would no doubt be adverse to the local farmer, of which we're all very vociferous for. And I had stated to object to the importing of any hormone-filled beef and the chlorinated chicken, as I said at the time, to be fed to either me or all you councillors, and more importantly, our constituents. We want to buy local, and we at that meeting, Seamus and Paul, you can keep me right, I thought we had proposed to write and express our complete opposition to that bill, and that we had said that we would CC all the MPs in on the same. And actually, I do believe that we had further discussed the importance of an urgent virtual meeting to speak up on the same. Seamus and Paul, I know you had come in, we had all discussed that, so you can keep me right on that, and that kind of is what Donald's talking about, but we'd already discussed it at that meeting. So if the other two councillors want to come in and have that included on the report that's noted as was an action on that day. Tommy, Gurmagat.
Thanks for that, Bernice, and I did allow you in there without going through the chair, so that has been noted also. Councillor Coffey, in the light of what Councillor Swift has indicated there, are you happy enough to withdraw a further letter, or do you still feel it's necessary?
I'm happy enough if it's agreed that it's going to be included, but I have to say it should have been explicitly recorded, obviously, but I'm certainly happy with that, yeah.
Well, that's why I was coming in to
for the information,
highlight accuracy on that.
That's twice, Bernice.
Well, I have my hand up, Tommy. You mustn't have been able to see it there. We're going to
It's gone off my list now. Yes, you were next on the list. I can assure you, Bernice, we would have got to you, no bother. Now, in light of that, is there any need for any further discussion? I see another few councillors still there. Councillor Green, are you just in to support Councillor Swift's remarks?
Well, I'm just in to reinforce them, but also to say that that was an action in the committee, and I'm a wee bit disappointed that it hasn't been shown in the report back from it, because there was a long discussion in around it, and we had all-party agreement on it. And
sorry, Seamus,
chair of that committee, I'm disappointed that that wasn't.
I've just been indicated by Kim to point out on the minutes where it actually has been recorded there at 2.1.
2.1.2, there is an action to write to the Minister raising concerns on the potential for new legislation to lower food standards and the implications on the safety of products to the consumer. And there's also an invitation to the Vice President of the Ulster Farmers Union to attend the next meeting to consider the potential implications of new legislation on food standards.
Okay, councillors all duly reprimanded for not reading the minutes correctly. Councillor McAleer, you're still indicating to speak on this issue. Now we have a proposer and seconder. Have you anything major to add to the discussion?
Chair, yeah, it's, I suppose, just on the basis of what's been said, it's getting clarification on that, because when I read the minutes, I took it to be raising concerns, which is something I would take to be very different to expressing complete opposition to. And off the back of that, I'd just like clarification what has been agreed in terms of this letter from the agricultural group. And if it hasn't been minute or hasn't been recorded as being as strong as that, I would second Councillor O'Coffey's proposal, because we have a minister in place.
Well, sorry, Councillor, Councillor O'Coffey has withdrawn his proposal in light of the information from Councillor Swift, as far as I'm aware. So there is no proposal. As I say, if as Councillor Green indicated, he's not happy with some of the way the meeting was minuted. If you're looking for further information within the minutes, maybe that's an issue that we need to just take note of, that when we get the minute again, that there's some more detail in it.
Can we, has the letter been drafted or been sent yet, just that we can get clarity on that?
Tommy, as chair of the committee, can I just come in and clarify that as a
sorry,
point of information?
Sorry, Seamus, just wait on a wee second there. I think Kim was about to say something, Seamus, and if required, then I'll go back to you, Seamus, okay?
Okay, well, as the chair is probably going to point out, the actions are brought to the Regeneration Community Committee tonight for approval, because the working group does not have decision-making authority. So they come to committee tonight, and then when they get council approval, they'll be actioned.
That's exactly as I was thinking there. Seamus, you're happy enough to stay quiet on the issue?
Yeah, no. Just to clarify what Emmett was saying, there was complete opposition to it, and I would be hoping that that would be reflected in that when it's written.
I don't think that throughout the whole council, I don't think there'd be anybody objecting to the wording on the sentiment within the letter. So again, I'll move to the business at hand. Now I have Councillor Coffey, are you still up, or are you wishing to come back in? Now I thought we had resolved your issue. Happy enough to...
It was down, wasn't it? It was down.
Well, sorry, you're still showing on my list. Take it, and again, Councillor Swift, are you wishing to speak?
Just for a little clarification, and just to assure other councillors who don't sit on the committee, there is definitely no ambiguity in what was stated on that day. And I think Seamus is being a little bit polite in his remarks. I was sorely disappointed as well that it wasn't written expressly as was discussed by all the committee members. And I will just reassure Councillor O'Coffey and indeed Emmett that there is no need for a new proposal in this instance, because it was made loud and clear on the day for on behalf of all of our farmers.
Thanks for that, Councillor Swift. Councillor Wilson, I'll allow you in specifically because it's to do with agriculture. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
There's really no point in me putting up my hand to start with, because everybody else gets in and I have been totally ignored, so I'll take it down again. Thanks.
Well, sorry, Councillor Wilson, I'm reading off the list in front of me. There was a time earlier on we did try to communicate with you, and it went on for quite a while. Sorry.
I had my hand up to second it, and
again, Councillor, I can only rely on the technology that's in front of me. We know it's all difficult when it's not a physical meeting, but we did request you to come in earlier on, and it went silent, so we had to move on with the business. I appreciate that you're obviously coming in support of the proposals. So where am I? I've lost my item number. 6.6, and we have a proposal from Councillor Robinson and seconded by Collier Feely that it is duly noted. Okay, moving on to item 6.7. 6.7 is Q4 progress report. It's a performance improvement plan. This is unusual coming to this committee, but as Kim still has this function within her remit, it's been brought to this committee. Okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report is really an update on the...
Sorry, just before Kim starts again, I do believe there's some interference. Could every councillor check their microphones are off, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Kim de Bronorm. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Chair. This report updates on progress made during Q4, so January to March 2020, towards achievement of the Council's improvement objectives as outlined in the 29-20 Performance Improvement Plan. There are 22 strands of work aligned to the 5 improvement objectives, and at paragraph 2.2 we've set out that these have largely been progressed. There are a small number of areas highlighted as falling behind planned progress in respect of Q4, which we have outlined. However, 89% of milestones have been met during that period. In terms of performance measures, at paragraph 2.3, information is set out in the table below in respect of the performance measures in terms of those which are below anticipated levels, and with the detail of the full set of performance measures is outlined in the attached appendix. So the recommendation is that the Q4 update in respect of the 2019-20 Performance Improvement Plan is noted, and that project evaluations are now developed for inclusion in the Council's annual performance report for 2019-20, which will be published in September this year.
Thank you, Kim. Councillor Donnelly, Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kim, for the update. I'm happy to propose your recommendations, and I think I'm delighted to find the progress has been made to date. On an aside, I would like to make a separate proposal if I can. It's in relation to community engagement. I mean, I think at this stage, through the whole COVID pandemic, community and volunteer sector have shown great initiative how they can interact and serve their community. And I would ask, and I would like to propose, to request that a workshop could be scheduled between the councillors and the community engagement team to identify how we can maximise our contact and engagement with the community at ground level in terms of community services, arts and sports moving forward. So I'd ask if that could be scheduled, please.
Excellent suggestion, Collier. Councillor Curry, are you looking to come in now?
And I'm very happy to second both the recommendations and that excellent proposal there by Collier Donnelly. I think overall the reports to be welcomed. I suppose just in terms of women and young people as underrepresented groups, we might need to, and I've no doubt council officers are looking at this, but we might need to come up with more innovative ways of engagement and promotion, and probably look at what the barriers are to women and young people being underrepresented. Like, you know, we've talked about a lack of affordable childcare and digital access that could be issues here, you know, bigger picture things, and what's our role in addressing that. But what I really want to focus on here is just improvement objective 4, which is that we will continue to invest in environmental programs which will reduce waste going to landfill and improve recycling efforts. So when we're thinking about waste, we're always going by the mantra reduce, reuse, recycle, and that's in order of preference. Reducing first of all, reusing or repurposing where we can, and the last part is to recycle as much as possible of what's left. So I've become aware that our recycling centres don't appear to routinely facilitate reuse of discarded items by members of the public who might have the vision and creativity to breathe new life into them. So I think we allow paint to be collected, but I'm talking about old furniture, some of which is probably still perfectly usable. And we talked here tonight about poverty, and people might appreciate half the things that we throw away, or the likes of the big wooden cable wheels, or indeed other wooden or metal items. So I'd like to make a proposal if I could, and obviously I'm taking into account our current restrictions when I'm doing it, but I would like to propose that we do allow members of the public to take items for reusing, upcycling or repurposing from our depots. And I recognise that there might be health and safety considerations to take into account outside of the current restrictions, but as far as reasonably practicable, I would like that we could allow it, and wherever we can to facilitate. Maybe having an area to one side that makes it easy to drop off and pick off, but I'll leave that to our very capable officers. I know there's social enterprises who are doing this, like Beacon in Enniskillen, BKN Upcycling, where people can drop off old furniture and the volunteers there upcycle it. But I think this is something that we can do as a council to reduce and facilitate the reuse of materials that might otherwise be going into landfill or further processed. So, and I think it's a good message to send out. We're living in a bit of a throwaway society. It's a good message to send out that things can be fixed up and be used again. So I'd like to propose that.
Siobhan? So that's a further proposal. Sorry, Alison wishes to respond to you there, Corlier.
Chair, thank you. I wonder if Councillor Curry was content with that spirit of enabling this to happen. Would it be okay maybe in the first instance if we just brought a report to the July's Environmental Services, maybe write some of the practical implications, just to allow the, as you've identified, some of the site constraints, but with that spirit of facilitating a way for it to happen, as opposed to difficulties that may be encountered? If Councillor Curry was content, maybe Chair, around feasibility.
Yeah, Gurmagat, Alison, and Gurmagat clearly. Yeah, I'm happy for that. But just if we could look at how we might facilitate that, Gurmagat, Alison.
Your proposal is duly noted, and hopefully there'll be some action that will be of satisfaction to the people. Now I see Councillor Thompson. You wish to add to this?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm happy enough. I was going to propose Kim's report there, but thank Kim for her report. Excellent. And just with regard to Councillor Curry's comments, maybe some of our directors could confirm this. Oma Menshed, had they not some involvement with regard to these processes? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Earl. I'm getting a nod of approval there. There is some engagement, but obviously the report that Alison has promised for July will cover all those details and inform the rest of us as to what does happen and what possibly could happen in the future. Thanks for that, Earl. Corlier Feely, are you indicating to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Kaylee. I'm going to second Siobhan Curry's proposal. It's a very, I just want to say a word about it, Tom. Is that all right? It's a very good.
Sorry, Anthony. Just for completeness, I believe Siobhan withdrew the proposal in place of the recommendation or the report coming in July. Would I be right there, Siobhan?
I think the proposal stands, Kaylee. Just that report can come forward, but that the proposal is that we can facilitate that in the future. But I appreciate the report telling us how we might do that.
Right. So your proposal is that we get a report, and the proposal is then that we could get the report in July. Does that make the proposal more comprehensive then? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alison wished to come in again. Siobhan, sorry.
Apologies. The feasibility as to how this will be achieved will be brought to you in July, but it is with that enabling approach to see how it can happen. So it's just some of the logistics around it, but reflecting the comments that Councillor Curry has made.
Right. I'm sorry for the confusion there. Collier Corey, that's a sound proposal. And Collier Feely, thanks for your seconded. Did you wish to add anything else, Anthony?
I just want to say we coming on up a long time here. I know. I'm not getting anybody in trouble here. In my own town, I'm not saying it was recycling centre, and there was a guy who was always saying about he had a kind of habit of taking stuff out the skip. If you were throwing stuff in one side, he'd be taking it out. But and if funny enough, he made a few there, and they're the long happy years after. But tell me 1 minute. I had my hand up the last time. I thought I had it up, but it was down. I just want to make a comment there. But my colleague, my Yarnwell West colleague, Councillor Swift, there was referring to Councillor Robertson and Councillor Seamus at that meeting. I was at that meeting as well about an agricultural liaison group, and there was very strong opposition about food coming in. I just wanted to have that noted, Tommy.
I apologise if I missed you, Anthony, but I am reading off the list, and it may have been taken down in error. Okay, thanks for that, Anthony, and you've just seconded that proposal. Collier O'Coffey, you wish to add to this?
Yes, I was obviously happy to second the proposal, or as it stands, by Councillor Curry. But my understanding is that one of the limitations, as far as I understand, around this is that the contractual arrangements prevent the council from providing access to the bins, and I understand that is an obstacle. So hopefully we'll find some way around it. But that's
as Councillor Collier Corey has proposed, we will get a report in July, and hopefully all those issues will be clarified. Donald, so we have a proposal in front of us to accept the recommendation from Anne-Marie Donnelly, Collier Donnelly, seconded by Collier Corey. Everybody in agreement? Thank you. The silence is accepted as acceptance. Now, second to that, we had the proposal from Collier Corey and seconded by Collier Feely that we will receive a report and a proposal that we engage with any efforts in recycling and reuse. Any objections? Happy enough. Take that as consent. Thank you very much. Item 6.8. 6.8 is a miscellaneous report of Director of Regeneration and Planning, paper A. And it's Kim again.
Thank you, Chair. This report covers a number of items, relates to letters of offer received, the recommended approach for processing business cases over the summer period, the Council's ongoing COVID-19 response in terms of the economic and business response, and the May 2020 meeting of the Community Planning Strategic Partnership Board. So in terms of letters of offer, there have been a number of letters of offer attached to the report, one from the PHA, for funding towards the Tobacco Enforcement Programme, revised letter of offer from Sport NI, which we've dealt with in terms of last year's small grants programme, letter of offer from the Food Standards Agency in terms of core grant funding, ring-fenced for food safety delivery functions, letter of offer from DFC towards the Community Support Programme in 2020-21, and a letter of variance from DFC in follow-up to the letter of offer around the Community Support Programme for the COVID-19 emergency funding support. In terms of the progressing of business cases over the summer period, a number of business cases are expected to be submitted, and to maintain momentum, it's recommended that approval is granted for the Chief Executive to authorise those during the summer period and bring a report to the September R&C Committee. In terms of the economic recovery response for COVID-19, there have been a number of measures through the Tourism and Economic Development Service over this period to help support local businesses. We have sought the input of the Ulster University's Economic Policy Centre in terms of analysis of the local impact. We have progressed a webinar series. We have undertaken a business survey and rolled out a number of free business mentoring support initiatives. There's been ongoing liaison with Vermont Lakeland Tourism and ongoing communication updates to the business database around supports and guidance. Appendix 1 attached sets out the Ulster University analysis in terms of the consequences of COVID-19. I have also itemised the series of 8 webinars at the top of page 3, which are available. In terms of the business survey, which has been undertaken, we have had 170 businesses participating in the survey. Top 3 business sectors participating were the retail, tourism and hospitality, and construction industries. 58% of the businesses who participated notified us that they were closed and not trading, while 19% were closed but able to trade and provide some services online. There are a number of top challenges identified by businesses through that survey, including cash flow and financial loss, retaining staff when the furlough scheme ends, customer retention, uncertainty for businesses, and issues around guidance on reopening and support, as well as some further information which is detailed. We are continuing to engage also with Department for Communities and Department for Infrastructure, and we have established 2 meetings later this week with stakeholder organisations in Omagh and Enniskillen to explore and identify opportunities around the safe and effective reopening of those town centres, and also to promote and bring confidence to customers and visitors. We have been working closely with the marketing manager for Fermanagh Lakeland Tourism and have been in regular contact with the industry around support packages available, and a specialist digital tourism marketing mentor has been assigned to Fermanagh Lakeland Tourism to help to prepare a digital marketing action plan for the home and the Republic of Ireland marketplace. We are working through a SOLAS regional recovery working group also in terms of the regional response to economic recovery, and there are a number of work streams established through that working group, and I will bring further updates on that as that work develops. And in terms of the community planning partnership, a meeting of the partnership board took place on the 21st of May, and the final draft minutes are attached to this report as Appendix 3. It was also agreed to convene a workshop-style meeting to consider short, medium and long-term community planning priorities and looking at a clear 18 to 24-month focus in relation to COVID-19 recovery. And that meeting will take place on Monday the 6th of July at 2 p.m. via WebEx. So there are a number of recommendations that the Council notes the receipt and acceptance of the letters of offer, grants delegated authority to the Chief Executive to authorise business cases and economic appraisals recommended for approval during the summer period with a report to the September R&C Committee, that we note the update on the Council's response to supporting the economic recovery. We support the development of an economic recovery plan for the district, focusing on the next 24 months. And also it's suggested that we invite representatives from Ulster University to present to the July meeting of the committee on the local economic impacts arising from the pandemic, and also that we note the minutes of the Community Planning Strategic Partnership Board meeting held on the 21st of May.
Thanks for that, Kim. Collier McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. Caherly, I wish to propose the 6 recommendations contained in item 6.8, Kim's report regarding economic development. I support very much the council-wide economic recovery plan exercise that's about to be undertaken, is being undertaken, very, very necessary, and that will be obviously informed by the think tank, the University of Ulster think tank and others, and also feedback we're getting from our own businesses, and I think that's crucial. I'm pleased that the University of Ulster Economic Policy Centre will brief our July committee meeting, and that report that they've forwarded to us in the meantime is very, very useful. In the interest of time, I won't give my own analysis of it here and now, but I would commend Kim's Directorate for all this work, including Kieran McCrory, the Head of Service, for the webinar series, and also for getting that database of local businesses up to 1,800, and for conducting the business impact survey. If I was to add to the 6 proposals, I would add the 7th proposal, that we investigate the possibility of a community-facing or public-facing engagement exercise involving the University of Ulster, where they would give their analysis of the impact of COVID-19 on our local economy, and they would look at the challenges up ahead. Some way perhaps of live streaming a lecture series or something like that, and that would continue this really strong developing engagement with our local businesses, because we need to listen to them. But Whitelum and Mollushaw, just a Corcoran Tussie, I'd like to propose that, Chair.
Caherly, or a Collier, Tashi Osmacornish. Collier Donnelly, Councillor Donnelly, you wish to come in?
Apologies, Chair. I was just checking in the previous point that my recommendation was noted. You just didn't call it out at the end. I just wanted to make sure you had it noted about community engagement.
Apologies, Collier. Yes, it has been duly noted by Kim. And
okay, thank you, Chair.
Maybe, do I need to put it to the meeting? Maybe just ask on that point again. Was there any dissension from Councillor Donnelly's proposal previous? I don't believe there was. Thank you. And apologies again. We can't always be on the ball. And again, Donald Coffey, or do you want to add something to this discussion, please?
Yeah, I'd like to make a proposal, please, around it's the paper 1, appendix 3. Appendix 3. It is on the 4th page under the issue of support for the business community. Now, obviously the business community are definitely going to be hit by the downturn, but so are workers. And I think there's a specific need to extend any economic interventions to cover workers who will have their wages depressed, will find themselves in dole queues. And in particular, I think we need to see interventions, but maybe not from council. We can probably not deliver that ourselves. But what we can do, I think, is to try and encourage an upskilling in this period ahead, because there's going to need to be a fundamental transformation of our economy, and we need to see a way to do that. So I'd like to see the extent of support include specifically employees and workers. Thank you, and that's a proposal.
Kim, have you a response there?
Okay, Appendix 3 relates to the work from the Community Planning Partnership Board, and there will be a series of actions identified through that next workshop meeting, and the support for workers and for retraining would certainly be a multi-agency type intervention, which we could certainly take forward through that workshop with partners.
Are you happy enough, Councillor Coffey, that will cover your problem? Or do you wish the proposal to stand separate, or happy enough that it's added into the...
I think I need to have it reinforced, frankly. It's not in there at the moment, and I think it should be explicitly referenced, because workers are going to be absolutely... they're facing a cataclysmic downturn here. So I
think we're all aware of the cataclysm that's in front of us, Collier, but Kim has some response again here.
We can certainly feed that into the community planning workshop in terms of the identification and agreement of interventions, and we can identify that the council has raised this as an issue.
Happy with that.
Happy enough with that, Councillor. So you withdraw the proposal, and happy enough with that it's included directly by Kim into that work group. Happy enough. Thanks very much. Just when you're on there, Councillor, you didn't wish to second Councillor Michael Duff's proposal, no?
Seconded.
Thank you. Earl, have you something to add to this discussion?
Thank you, Chair. I was actually going to second it, but you let Councillor call. Just with regard to Kim's report, I very much welcome it, and I also agree with Councillor Michael Duff's added proposal there as well. I think it's vital that we're engaging with the businesses in the town, and also, as Councillor Coffey has mentioned there, the workers as we move forward to see what sort of a situation we'll be in, maybe possibly in the autumn or even later. So I'm happy enough to support that, and recommendations as listed. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Earl. So as I say, we have a proposal for Barry to accept the report, and then we had a further proposal for Barry. Sorry, the first one was seconded by Donal O'Coffey. Then Barry's other recommendation has just been seconded by Earl. Happy enough with that. Now there are a few more councillors indicating this is quite a hefty report. Now we're not going to get to the end of all the financial things. Councillor Armstrong, have you anything to add?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is a critical time for the survival of our economy, for the small business, retail, tourism sector. One question on point 2.3.8, and I'm rushing through because I know we're short for time.
Please do.
Just advice in advance of the Digital Marketing Action Plan. Can we get a report on ask for a report on what work is ongoing to encourage, develop and promote the creation of 1-day, 2-day itineraries for tourists to the district, and how is FLT developing clustering and collaborative tourism offerings in the trade. Experiential tourism. These are the findings of in the giant spirit, that we need experiential tourism, we need our itineraries in the district for 2-day stays. So in advance, it's working together rather than in isolation. And I'd just be keen to see a report on that. The second point in item 2.3.5, the 1,800 businesses that have registered, can we also examine what we can do to increase the average open rate of 40%? Is there more work to be done there to make that more dynamic, the response from the business sector? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Diana. And Councillor Donnelly, Collier Donnelly. Stephen Donnelly, sorry.
No worries, Chair. Thank you very much. I would just want to come in to say that very much I think that it is important that we do start looking at the concept of an economic recovery plan, which does engage with not just workers and business, but with social enterprise. And I think that it's important that we don't overlook the vital role, not just in the short term, but in the long term, of childcare. A lot of workers going back this Friday in particular concerned amongst some of them about the issue of childcare. So important that doesn't be overlooked. And in terms of engagement with the Ulster Unionist, the Ulster University Economic, in terms of engaging with the Ulster University Economic Policy Centre, I think that it is important that we do get a local analysis in terms of our own district, because I think the statistics that came across from Northern Ireland in general was a potential 6% increase in unemployment, potentially rising by as much as 30,000. That's going to have significant impacts on the living standards of people right across our community, and it's important that that is factored into how we respond in Fermanagh and Omagh. So thank you very much.
Stephen.
Yeah, membership forum.
Thanks for that, Victor. Please go through the chair. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I suppose the discussion's kind of straight into Ulster University. I'm still technically an employee of Ulster University till I
declaration of interest.
So I'll be declaring interest. That's all right with you.
Right. Thanks for that, Chris. Collier Feely, your hand is still raised. Is that? Do you wish to come in or in error again, please?
Error.
Good enough. Collier Fitzpatrick Muratash Screefanshaw. Fitzgerald. Collier Fitzgerald.
Apologies. I'm just too near my screen here. Apologies, Chair.
Good enough. Thank you. And Councillor Irvine.
Apologies.
Very good. And Collier O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. Just to come in on 2.3.8 and to second Diana's proposal there. Also, just to inquire, how long will the specialist digital mentor be available? And I'd like to propose that we look at a possibility of some extra funding for the tourism industry through FLT, particularly in the next couple of months, 3 months, where we are looking at a massive amount of work to try and encourage people to come back to Fermanagh. And we all know how expensive the digital world of advertising and TV advertisement is, and to at least investigate where we could ensure that there is a very visible and a very high presence of the tourism industry in Fermanagh Omagh to be put out there to encourage people in. Otherwise, an awful lot of our tourism businesses will go to the wall.
Tom, have we a seconder for Tom's proposal there? Collier Michael Duff, you wish to come back in? Oh, sorry, was that you, Diana? Yes, I'll take your second, Diana. Collier Michael. Collier Michael Duff, were you looking back in?
I was, on a very, very small point, but an important point. It actually came to me during the meeting where a lady constituent rang me and said, that in relation to the reopening of our town centres, which is incorporated into Kim's report, you know, Friday there's going to be an awful lot of shops open again, but we have this kind of anomaly where our public conveniences, our public toilets may not be open on Friday. Now, everything has to be done, obviously, in compliance with public health guidelines. So I'm just asking maybe the Chief Executive to note that there's that kind of concern out there about cafes and restaurants perhaps being closed on Friday and no public conveniences. How can we get around this problem?
Thanks for your question. And Alison has a response at this stage, Barry?
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. Chair, we are still refining this because, as members will be aware, the Executive's decision was only yesterday evening. But we are working on the basis that we will have public conveniences open both in Enniskillen and Omagh on this Friday, the 12th of June, to coincide with the reopening of the town centres. Now, that will probably be Eden Street and Johnston Park toilets only at this point. That is subject to us ensuring that public health and others are satisfied with the guidance regime that we propose to have in place. We will be updating that on social media, councillors, hopefully tomorrow morning, but as soon as we just get formal clarification of that. We then have a further phase of reopening of public conveniences more generally, but that will be dependent again upon confirmation of the advice.
Thanks for that. Alison, happy enough with that response, Barry?
Very pleased. I'll just, mute.
Flushed with success, I'd say, that members thinking of, Chair.
Now, sorry, I missed that one. Collier Kelly, you're looking in.
Yes, about the economic catastrophe that we're facing in the months and years ahead. And we must actually talk about or look at ways to stimulate the economy here in Fermanagh and Tyrone. I became aware of, through the social enterprise report Balancing the Economy of 2019, that only 3 to 4% of social enterprises are in our district. So I would like to propose that we write to the social enterprise folks. I believe the head of that organisation is a man named Colin. I don't recall his second name. To ask about why our percentage is so low and how can we enhance that type of investment in our district.
Catherine, and thanks for that proposal. Have we a seconder? Now, I see Councillor Smith, you're still indicating, but you've already declared an interest, so I presume that's an error. Councillor Armstrong, that is probably in response to second Thomas's idea, was it? That's okay. We have that noted.
Sorry, Chair, I want to further say something on Barry's.
Sorry, Diana. Go ahead.
Just and I work in retail part-time, and on the public conveniences, can I just say that the public have been inconvenienced because with the closure, and it has been a difficult to have customers come in looking for the public conveniences. But one of my questions is, perhaps could the information be disseminated to the town centre, to the shops, to the shopkeepers as well, to direct customers, because shops will be asked where the public conveniences are and where which ones are open.
I'm getting a positive indication from the Chief Executive there. Are you happy enough with that, Diana?
Happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Catherine Kelly, you made a proposal. We haven't got a seconder for that yet.
I'll second that, Chair. Stephen here.
Stephen McCann, Gurmayagad. We have at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4 proposals on this single item here. Could I clear them up? Or Eamon, do you wish to come in to discuss this issue, or will I move to these proposals?
I was going to second a proposal by Catherine Kelly there, but she's...
Right, thanks for that. And Josephine, you wish to add something?
Yes.
Sorry, Josephine, before you start, I wish to apologise. We did lose contact with you when you were second and an item earlier on in the agenda. Just to apologise that we actually lost you in the technology, but somebody else stepped in to second in your place. I apologise for that. Go ahead now, Josephine,
yes.
please.
No problem, Chair. And I actually have moved rooms in my house, so I hope that you can hear me just now. I did want to support Councillor Catherine Kelly's proposal, but in addition to that, Chair, I think a major part of our economic recovery will be around the area of retraining. And if Councillor Kelly was happy enough to incorporate into her proposal that we should make formal contact and liaise with our local colleges to ascertain how we might involve them in retraining, because I think that will figure greatly in our economic recovery.
Thank you, Councillor. And as we're all fully aware, it will be a multi-agency approach to get us out from under this COVID-19. I think we're all fully aware of that, and all those agencies will have to put the shoulder to the wheel to help the area, especially our rural area.
Chair, I'm happy to accept that.
Thank you, Catherine. That was the next item on the agenda. Diana, you're still indicating on the screen. Do you wish to come back in? No, happy enough. Councillor Michael Lear, you wish to come in?
Yeah, just at the mention of local council or local colleges, just declaring an interest as an employee, Southwest.
Thanks for that, duly noted. Thank you. Now, to try and clarify some of the issues that we have in front of us here of 6.8, Councillor Michael Duff proposed the adoption of the recommendations, and that was seconded by Corley O'Coffey. Everyone happy enough with that? Sorry, was that a dissent? No. Thank you. The second item, which I probably not quite sure, when Barry recommended an issue in relation to, can you advise me, Kim, what it was, just off the top of my head?
To bring a report to the July meeting.
That's right. Thank you. And that was seconded by Earl. Everybody in agreement to that?
Sorry, Chair, just I think it was also the front-facing, the community engagement piece from the University of Ulster around the COVID-19 impacts. I think the two were linked into one.
That's that proposal. Happy enough, we have all agreed. Thank you. And then we had a proposal from Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Armstrong, in relation to tourism, the tourism product. All in agreement? Thank you. Your silence is good stuff. And Catherine Kelly proposed, seconded. Sorry, have we dissent there? No. Okay, sorry, I'm a bit of interference. Proposed by Catherine Kelly and seconded by Stephen McCann, I believe, was the addition of Catherine's proposal, and that was in relation to what was it? With
social enterprises.
Social enterprise, that's right. Sorry, Catherine. Again, it's hard to keep track of 4 or 5 proposals on the one issue, but it is duly noted here. So again, everyone in agreement?
Agreed.
Great, thanking you for that. Now we move on to item 7, the Community Health and Leisure Directorate reports. I'll remind members that it is now 9:30. So brevity on these issues, if possible. Obviously, if there is something vital to be discussed, we will discuss it. So handing over to John again. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chair. This is a report from Cycling Now, on a proposal from Cycling Ireland to develop 3 cycling hubs in Northern Ireland, and it's proposed that one of them would be in our district. It would consist of 2 portable units, and we would take responsibility for the cost of the electricity alone, and they would look after the maintenance. The hub would be used to promote cycling and provide training courses, as well as providing cycling opportunities for new participants to get involved. And it could also, the units could also be used as community activities. So it's recommended that the council officers work with Cycling Ireland to identify the most suitable location for the establishment of the cycling hub, and to report back to members following that discussion.
Okay, members, that's self-explanatory, and we will be getting a report back. If it could have somebody to propose and second, please. Marie Fitzgerald there.
Councillor Armstrong.
Yes, yes.
Sorry, I did call off the top of the list after I'd made that suggestion. I do apologise again. So on the list, Anne-Marie Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I didn't realise I was going to get in as quick. I'm delighted to accept this proposal. I think it's a wonderful thing for Cycling Ireland, has seen our area as a great area to do work with. And as you know, that we have large numbers of cycling groups. You just see the number of cyclists on the roads every day. And I just think even with the COVID-19 crisis, I've even been chatting to men and women who are finding it virtually impossible to buy a bicycle in our area and wider. And I like to think that negotiations would get underway as soon as possible, and let Cycle Ireland feel we're the best place for these containers to be placed. Not with that, with Gortin Glens being upgraded, and with walking and cycling paths there, and with Dava Forest not so far away. But I suppose that's one of the opportunities. I was chatting to Councillor Clark just this morning, and he's rather excited about this as well. I thought he would have got in before me. So I think this is a very positive outcome, great thing for the area, and for a small setup fee of £1,500 to £1,000 a year to run it is an excellent scheme for our area. So just want to propose that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And next on the list is Collier Feely. Do you wish to second the proposal? There's quite an extended list. Sorry, Anthony, just wait. Give me a wee minute. There's quite an extensive list gathering up on this particular issue here. It is simply a recommendation that we will engage with them, and a report will be coming back. I don't wish every councillor to come in and just say we agree with this, because once it's proposed and seconded, I'll put it to the meeting. Okay, in the interest of brevity. So, Collier Feely, you're next on the list, please. If you could just second it for me, please.
Very brief. One question, Tommy. I'm happy to second. I'm not going to go into details. It says Everson, Finton, Castle Arts, and Gertrude is possible locations. Could be other locations put into that? I just wanted to know. And happy to propose second.
Yes, Chair. Yeah,
John, go ahead.
Yes, Chair. We're in discussions with Cycling Ireland at the moment, so certainly, whatever locations, anyone who has make any recommendations, please forward them to me. Yeah.
There you are. So it's an open house. Every councillor in the place will have a list for John tomorrow morning. Could I take it that we will move to, now that I have a proposer and seconder on this rather simple issue, and unless somebody is contrary to the proposal, I'm going to put it to the meeting. All agreed?
Great.
Thank you, Paul. Happy enough then. It didn't really need further discussion. I don't believe it was all well phrased there, and John has it in hand. Thank you, members. Item 7.2, the summer scheme provision.
Thank you, Chair. You'll all be aware that a number of summer schemes are delivered every year in both leisure centres and the community settings across the district. Because of COVID, it is proposed that those are adapted to include virtual delivery, with content including art, history, music, dance, and whatever was always included in the summer schemes, and also to provide some element within the social distancing and within the government rules about what can be done physically on the ground. It's targeted mainly at primary school age children, and will take place in the first 2 weeks of July. So I suppose it's just to report and recommend for the council that to note the revised summer scheme delivery, and it will be kept under review in line with the Northern Ireland Executive 5 stages of the recovery plan for COVID.
Okay, again, a number of councillors have indicated it's quite a straightforward recommendation. Not wishing to elongate the meeting, if possible, just maybe a proposer and a seconder, I believe, may do the job. Again, Councillor Collier Fitzgerald.
Yes, I'm happy with that. Yes.
Happy enough to propose. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Again, next on the list is Collier. Councillor Thompson. You're next on the list. Sorry, there's been an amended list in front of me.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank John for his report. I'm happy to second. Thank you.
That's great. That's the way to do the business. Thank you, Earl. I'm really not going to allow further discussion because I think it's self-explanatory, and it will come back to the meeting at a later date. And the opportunity is open to all councillors to contact John if they wish their wee backyard to be included in the list. Okay, so I'm putting it to the meeting. It's been proposed and seconded. All in agreement?
No.
Sorry, have we dissent?
Yes, sorry, Chair. I just would like to expand the recommendation if I can. Councillor Donnelly.
Right. Sorry, Anne-Marie, you weren't on the list there, but if it is an alternative or an addition, we will certainly let you in. Go ahead.
I'm more than happy with the recommendation, but I would like to see that now, given the situation that we're in, that we could expand the summer scheme delivery. Why not offer it out to the schools, the youth clubs, and so on? All these places now are set up now for remote learning for the children. I wouldn't like to restrict it just to the summer scheme groups, because they are a small group of children. So if the other councillors are happy, I would be happy to extend the provision and ask that we're trying to target as many children as possible, offer it out to youth clubs, sports clubs, schools. And I'm conscious that schools obviously are coming near an end. There's only a few weeks left. So it's as a matter of urgency, contact would need to be made with the schools to engage with them, to get contact with them, to ensure that the virtual program can be offered to them. And I do think that we need to really look at the outdoor provision to see what can be done. I mean, there's lots of pitches out there. There's the provision there can surely be expanded to give children the opportunity for activities, bearing in mind social distancing. So I would like it, perhaps if John and his staff could look at what the programme is, to see if they can expand it to really to reach out to as many children as possible in our community to improve the provision that the council are offering. Because I mean, that's one of our targets, the increased uptake of council provided leisure and recreation. So if we could amend that proposal.
Sorry, what I was going to say, could you make that as a separate proposal, probably now that we've adopted the first one, Anne-Marie, if you're happy enough to make that proposal that there is an extension to the provision?
Yes, and I suppose to finalise that is to say that obviously we've got arts officers and sports officers who are furloughed at the minute. We could use those staff to deliver a programme to the community. So perhaps if that could be included in my proposal.
Certainly, Collier Donnelly, and we're getting a note of approval from the CEO. So just one point from Alison. Do you wish to speak, Alison? Sorry.
Chair, it's just one very minor point of clarification, specifically around furloughing. And we can't employ people who are furloughed. They can't work for us, but we do have staff resource who are currently underdeployed that we could utilise in the intent that Councillor Donnelly has suggested. It's just a minor matter.
Thank you, Alison. Happy enough with that clarification, Anne-Marie?
And just one minor point. I'm sorry, Chair. I note the programme is for 2 weeks. Obviously, surely there's an opportunity to expand that programme. If it's going to be virtual, that people can access it as and when. You know, I think we really should be looking outside the box here to see what we can do to interact with our community and try not to restrict the provision.
Right. And Maria, I think that could be encapsulated in your formal proposal there, that we try to expand it to time-wise as well as to engage with whatever resources are available to the council. Very good. Collier Coffey, are you happy to second that proposal?
I have to say it's a fine proposal. I was going to bring something similar up. I just want to say one thing other as
in
well.
the interest of brevity, if you could just stick to the main point you're going to make.
Equality screening there. It says the uniform impact across all Section 75 groups is positive, and I don't think it is. It's not uniform. There's no uniform impact. I think it's a failure to analyse the impact on different Section 75 groups. Obviously, those who don't have access to internet, who have in a house without the money to pay for broadband, they don't have access. That's not a uniform impact across Section 75 groupings. And I think that what we should do, and I totally agree with what Councillor Donnelly said, I think she's making excellent points. I just would like to see if there could be a focus on, in particular, deprived children coming who are really, they're going to be in lockdown for how many, 4 months maybe, and no school, you know, so I totally agree it should be extended.
Right. Your point's duly made, but really not quite sure how the council could improve on that situation.
Thanks, Chair. Just briefly to say, I suppose they're not designated Section 75 categories, the categories Councillor O'Coffey has mentioned, but I think we certainly take the point about deprivation and the impacts more widely.
Okay, happy enough with that response, Donald?
Yeah, happy enough.
They're not within the group, and you're happy enough to second Anne-Marie Donnelly's proposal of the extension of the summer scheme where possible.
Yes.
That's great. Some other speakers on the list. Again, it's we've had the proposal accepted, and we've had Anne-Marie's proposed and seconded. I'm going to put it to the meeting unless you have a contrary point to make. All agreed? Thanking you. Moving on to item 7.3, Environmental Health Delegated Decision Record, Quarter 4, January to March 2020. It's a comprehensive report, and as I think it is just there for noting, unless John has anything to add.
Not all, Chair. There's a quarterly report.
It's just the quarterly report. If I could have a proposer and seconder to note, Collier Clark. Sean Clark, happy enough to propose?
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy enough to propose, but I tried to get it a long time ago, but obviously I'm having technology problems. So,
well, Sean, you may have been on the list, but as indicated on the shorter reports that were simply a matter of noting, I did say that unless you had a contrary, we were moving on just to accept the noting of these smaller items to try and facilitate the meeting being over.
Okay,
and we're happy enough, Sean, with that. I'll accept that as a proposal for this noting. And Councillor Robinson, you're next on the list. Are you happy just to second this? Councillor Robinson. Right, maybe you're up there by mistake, Paul. I'll move on to Councillor Thornton.
Wait a second.
Second. Thank you, Howard. Have you any issues with it? No. No. Thank you. Happy enough. That's been proposed and seconded. Members, are we happy enough? Any objections?
Chair, could I get a wee clarification, just Councillor McAleer?
Point of clarification. Go ahead, Collier McAleer.
The sustainable development implications, it says that the enforcement of environmental health legislation supports the environmental pillars. But in the attached report, there's, I think, I counted 27 certificates of registration under the poisons order.
Sorry, Councillor McAleer, I drew the same point to the attention on I got an email in response from John indicating the products that are available. If you would be happy enough, if John could forward you the same email as he sent to me, it was the comprehensive list of the actual poisons that are available in the district. You will obviously be conscious that cleaning materials and drain cleaner, etc., are regarded as poisons, but that is a comprehensive list. I received it myself, and I'll ask maybe could ask John to send that out to all councillors for information. Happy enough with that?
Chair, yeah, good man.
Good man, that's it, job done. Where are we moving on to now? Item 7.4, District Council Good Relations Programme, comprehensive report. Members, it's been with us for all over the weekend. I'm sure you have digested it from back to front. Unless there's any issues with it, I'm going to move to the recommendation that the Council adopts the Good Relations Action Plan for 2020-2021. Could I have a proposal and a seconder, please?
Councillor Campbell.
Happy to propose, Glenn Moyhug, Gurmayagat. And could I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Deehan.
Josephine, thank you, Josephine. So that's, we have a proposer and a seconder for the recommendation. Unless there is dissent, I will take silence as approval. Okay, members, accept it? Yeah. Right, now we're on to item 7.5, extension to platforms for ageing communities, engagement and exchange. Again, it's a very late report, and it's a simple recommendation that the council approves a 6-month extension to the Place EE project until the 30th of November 2020. Anyone wish to speak or maybe make a proposal? I have Anne in front of me there, but there's several Annes and Anne-Marie's. Sorry, IT. Damien, are you aware who? Right, somebody's writing up now. Sorry. Late tit. Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, did you wish to come in there?
Apologies, I'm on my desk, sorry.
Right, Collier Feely, did you wish to come in there?
No, sorry, Tommy. Sorry about that, Tommy. Getting this out hand mixed all the time.
You could have proposed it for me anyway, couldn't you?
Good
man, Anthony. There you are. Well, you did have it up purposefully. We're all aware that you knew exactly what you were doing. Go ahead, Anthony. That's that proposed. Have we a seconder? The next name on the list is Councillor Robinson. Are you happy enough to propose the recommendation? Paul Robinson, Councillor Robinson. Sorry, not getting you, Paul. I'll move on to the next on the list. Diana, I see you're next on the list.
Thank you, Chair. He's obviously not at home. I'm happy to second that proposal for the extension. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will put it to the members. Any objections? Otherwise, silence will be approval. Thank you.
Object.
There is an objection. Sorry?
Yeah, I object. I would like to.
Sorry, what is it in the extension of the services to the older people that we have a problem with, please?
It's on the wrong section. I'm on the good relations.
Oh, sorry, the good relations already been adopted.
Sorry, my apologies.
I did ask for any dissent. Missed the boat this time, Donald. You could bring it up with a specific officer at a later date if there's a specific issue. Okay, happy enough with that. We are trying to race on here a wee bit to maybe get to the end of this meeting. There are some very vital issues to be discussed. Item 7.5, extension to platform. Oh, sorry, I'm going back. You're making me lose my place, Donald. Agenda item 7.6, the Irish Language Activity Plan, which is a comprehensive document. Again, there is some recommendations in it. I'm sure we'll have some speakers on it, but if I could ask for brevity, it's straightforward. It has been with the members over the weekend, and we might be able to facilitate getting the meeting finished by 10:30 if possible, maybe. So anyone wish to propose the recommendations?
Commissioner Akara, Collier, McCaffrey.
Krista McCaffrey, you're happy enough to propose the recommendations 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 in the document.
Boilum Curlesh, the Kionaku, Mas Fedger, or Mishtalat.
Right, Lanneray, go ahead and speak on one of the items. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Sinead, it is where Gormil Mogadas may like it's a shock, because Caharjas Laderation and Roll New and Lena, because Caharjas Shaw Whalen Shaw and Akalat. So congratulations to both John Boyle and yourself, Tommy, for the appointments to for the Shin. Best luck for your head. No, I'm very happy to propose.
Sorry, Christopher, perhaps you could include Kim in those best wishes there too. Is it her new role?
Sorry, Kim, of course. Happy. Apologies for that.
Her face isn't as new, but she's in a new role. Thank you.
My first interaction with both Kim and John in this capacity, but no, I'm very happy to we proposed 5 proposals there. I think it's very important. I liked one of the things I saw in the report. Embrace the Irish language and culture in all its forms and encouraging the use of Irish in both service delivery and civic life. And we do owe it to the Irish language community within our council district. The Tree Gaelscona, almost 600 pupils being educated through the medium of Irish. That is their day-to-day language that they speak, that they learn in, and that they greet their friends and in some cases their parents and families in. So absolutely do owe it to them. And of course, the Irish language adds great enrichment to the culture and diversity within our council area. I would just like to ensure that in the establishment of the Irish Language Working Group, that particular working group would have the capacity to elicit invitations to groups that would be useful in helping us shape and form our strategies and ideas for the Irish language. Just off the top of my head, groups like Conroe na Gaeilge, of course, and Forest na Gaeilge. So just that the working group would have that capacity. So I'd make that a proposal just to add to that.
Just in response to that, John is looking in. He may already have covered that base for you.
No, Chair. Just in relation to one of the recommendations, it was for the committee to clarify whether it wishes to proceed with the establishment of a working group or participation in a standalone workshop. So I suppose there is a bit of a decision there.
So, well, just on that, I would be obviously opting for a full-on working group, and with the capacity of inviting people to that working group to help us.
That proviso, yeah.
Gormagat.
Christopher, anyone else looking in there to possibly second this proposal? Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, you're next on the line. Collier Fitzgerald.
Yes, I was going to second that, just Tommy, if that's possible. Maybe it's gone already.
That's grand. Again, that's a proposer and seconder. It's before the meeting. If everyone's in agreement, we'll move on. Thank you very much for that. Agenda item 7.7, the Marble Arch Caves activity licenses and visitor amenities. Again, it's a straightforward and a fairly lightweight agenda item. There's recommendations. We're all aware of them there. Unless somebody wants to come in with some contrariness on the issues. Other than that, if we could have a proposer and a seconder, please.
Councillor Swift proposing.
Councillor Swift, that's the third time you've jumped in without waiting to be invited.
I did have the hand up and did say it.
I can only see what's in front of me, Bernice. Apologies for that, but you're quite welcome to come in at any time because it's usually a worthwhile intervention. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Thanks for fault your road. Corleo Coffee, you're on the list.
Thank you. Yeah, it says under page 4 there, 2.24. We're potentially spending £425,000 on a project. Now I do see we're potentially clawing back 75%. But has an economic appraisal or business plan been conducted on that at this stage? And if so, can the committee be provided with one?
Again, Councillor, I've reiterated this a few times tonight. If since you've seen this recommendation before, or these minutes before you, maybe you could have checked that out with John before bringing it to the actual meeting, and you could have got clarification at that point. Again, I'll allow it at this time, but okay, John, have you a response to this?
Yeah, a business case has been completed, Chair. Yes.
Happy enough with the positive response, Donald?
I'd like to have a look at it because I don't see what the absolute direct necessity to spend £425,000 is.
Right. Again, can I recommend you take that up with John post the meeting? You're quite at liberty to engage with the director.
Can I ask, Chair, if I agree to allow this to go through, will we be committing to spending £425,000? Thank you.
Well, the procedure usually is that it'll be brought to for ratification to the council meeting. And if you can alert in the meantime to a misappropriation or a misspending of that amount of money, or some problem with the business case, I'm sure you will have the opportunity at that stage to address I don't think there's any councillor going to go with that volume of money spent in some sort of not proper way, I think is the. Alison wishes to come in just on that.
Yeah, well, Chair, just to clarify for Councillor Coffey, this is in the context of funding coming to the council, so this will draw down the 75%, but we are required as a council to commit to the overall project to enable us to draw down the match funding for the overall project. Yeah. It wouldn't be dissimilar to, for example, Gorton Glens and other projects that we had presented to the council in the past, Chair.
Happy enough with that response, Donald, that it's a normal procedure?
I said originally that we're getting 75% grant aid, but we're still spending £100,000 in a project that I don't know why. It may be a very valid project, but I haven't got anything in front of me. Thank you.
Right. Well, again, if you could engage with John, maybe. I don't think we're going to get all that resolved at this committee meeting, given the time at 5 to 10. So maybe you could engage with John tomorrow. Enough with that, Donald.
Okay, go on.
Thank you. It's just, again, we're at 5 to 10 at night. We have some other stuff we'd like to try and get done, or some of it anyway. 7.9, report to the Director of Community Health and Leisure. Yourself, John, again.
Yeah, 7.8, Chair, maybe the support for the Arnie River Canoe Trail.
Sorry, maybe I missed one there. Apologies, John. I flicked over. Sorry, yes, 7.8, support for Arnie River Canoe Trail. Apologies, John.
Yeah, this is the Colgate Cleanish project, and it's the development of a 20k trail from Balcoo to Rossdowney Quay. And the recommendation is to enter into license agreements with the private landowners where necessary to maintain the infrastructure on the trail, to act as lead applicant in potential funding streams if required, and to enter into any management agreement with the community groups. The infrastructure for the capital payments will not be our responsibility.
Okay, happy enough to take a proposal for that. Collier Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to propose that, and I think just very briefly recognise the work of Cleanish Community Association with the whole project, and obviously Fletcher as well for coming on board. Thank you, Chair.
Lovely, Collier Gannon, that'll do. And Collier McCaffrey, Bawailat series.
Yeah, just Bawailam and Runchin Honadaru. So happy to second that proposal and all the recommendations.
That's grand. So we have a proposer and seconder. Unless there's a country debate about to take place, I'm putting it to the meeting. Everybody happy enough? Thank you, members. That simplifies that. Item, I think we're on to the proper item now. 7.9, Director of report of the Director of Community Health and Leisure. Now, I'm looking at the time. I don't really need a proposer to extend for half an hour or so until about 5 past. So again, ask for brevity. it can be done, Cardia, and as I said, we don't want to be in the ridiculous situation of putting stuff off for a couple of months, and the whole issue of COVID-19 and all will have changed in the meantime. Okay, go ahead, John.
Chair, the two elements to the report. One is to report on the illuminations, which was agreed that we would report to every council meeting, and you'll see them there on page 2 of the report of the times that the boats are cancelled and in Stroul in Oma were letting up. The second element of the report is the public right of way. In December 18, the council asserted that there was the Green Road as a public right of way and requested offers to have it vindicated in the county court. The second part of the report gives an update in respect of that and the next steps in order to conclude the process or to start to really move the process forward. We have been in ongoing discussions with our barrister and junior counsel in relation to the matter, and a letter of claim has been drafted now by the barristers, and this has to be sent to each landowner. And the next steps in the process is, well, first of all, I suppose we have to review the list of landowners to establish that no details have changed since the council were last in contact with them. To personally contact those to inform them that this letter of claim and for assertion in the Green Road is on its way to them, so that they're not surprised by it. Thirdly, to issue that letter of claim to the landowners and allow them a period of time to respond to it. And for those who do not agree to the proposed assertion of the Green Road as a public right of way, that we would issue court proceedings to the county court, and therefore then we wait for a period for that to be heard in the county court, which is approximately 6 to 12 months from the date of lodgement. So the proposal is that we note the illuminations carried out between December 19 and March 20, and that we note the update on the Green Road public right of way and the steps to be taken in the future to assert the route.
Okay, Cardia, the two recommendations are there. Have we a proposer? On the top of the list is Councillor Irvine.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a question actually in regard to the second point, the Green Road for John. Looking down the financial implications, I see that there is no cost illustrated with regard to liabilities going forward. I also note under assets and other implications 3.3 that the council here is saying to have to retain and protect the public right of way. I don't agree with the recommendation. I would like a report, this taken back, and a report brought back to this committee with more definitive costs in regard to the possible county court proceedings and any costs pertaining with the future protection of the right of way. That's my proposal, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Irvine.
Chair, Councillor Wilson here.
Right, Bert. You're jumping the queue, but I'll let you in because you're going to say I didn't let you in. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson. I'll let you jump the queue.
I would like to second proposal because I written some things on an email today that throws a lot of queries into the cost to the council and the ratepayers and everything else. So I would second Councillor Irvine's proposal. Thank you.
Right. Well, if I could, thanks for that, Bert. I think.
Back, Chair.
Oh, sorry, Robert. Yes, I was going to try and move it
I'm
on.
happy to go with the first recommendation. That would be 8.1 with regard to the illuminations. So I'm happy to propose that as well. If Councillor Wilson is happy to second that, at least we can get that out of the way.
Yes, so we heard that, Bert. Yes, good man. Right, so we have two recommendations. Item 1 has been proposed by Councillor Irvine, seconded by Councillor Wilson. And further to that, Councillor Irvine has proposed that item 2 in the recommendation be brought back and returned to the committee with some further information. I think we can put the two of them together. Is everyone happy with that conclusion?
No, object. Councillor McAleer.
Okay.
Right. Sorry, well then could I separate the two issues? Are you objecting to item 1 on the recommendation?
No, the issue with the Green Road, which was discussed on 2017.
Right. Sorry. Just hold on to clarify where we are in the procedure. So I could have put it to the members that recommendation 1 with regards to the eliminations has been proposed and seconded by Councillor Irving and Councillor Wilson. Is everyone happy enough with that?
Agreed.
Agreed, right. I'll take the silence on the agreement there. Thank you. Now we have a proposal by Councillor Irving, seconded by Councillor Wilson, recommending that item 2 in the recommendation be brought back for further detail in light of an email that was received, I believe, by all councillors. I put that to the meeting and I have some objectors now. You're at top of the list now, Councillor Michael Lear. So, Councillor Michael Lear, if you wish to come in and express your views, please.
And far, and just to reiterate that communication obviously wasn't sent to all councillors, because I have personally not received it, and kind of putting 2 and 2 together and working out who it was from, I can imagine why. This is a decision that was taken by the council in 2017, April 2017, and it seemingly has been stalled from that date until now. We're not really much further forward, and I don't really know why. There's in the notes on page 2, it states about the delay progressing the work from junior council. There's no explanation why that has been done. There's the statement that the letter of claim was drawn up, but for some reason it was decided not to send it out during the COVID crisis. Now, I don't know what the reasoning or the logic behind that was, as it makes absolutely no sense. You're talking about approximately 12 landowners on this, so why it is stated on page 3 that it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to get in contact with these people to warn them that they're going to be in receipt of a letter is absolutely scandalous. It shows this issue highlights the complete distrust and lack of urgency that people in Mid Tyrone have for the council when they look at why this, which was explained at the time as being a fairly simple and fairly straightforward legal matter. Why 3 years down the line we're still no further forward? You know, this.
Sorry, in the interest of time, it's now almost 5 past. I'm going to have to go for it. It's obvious. Yes, you want to make a counter proposal to Councillor Irving.
The proposal is to proceed with the recommendation, but proceed at haste. That there's no need for some of the delays that have been noted in this.
Right. Sorry to cut across you, Chair. Right. Your proposal there is to proceed with the letter.
Absolutely, yes.
And seconded by Collier O'Coffey, I believe.
Keenan.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, right. So we have 2 counter proposals here. One, that this item 2 is brought back for further information to be brought to the committee at a later date. And we have another one that by Councillor Collier Michael Lear and seconded by Collier O'Coffey, that we proceed to the letter right away. I'm going to have to put it to the meeting. All in favour of Councillor Irving's proposal?
Who's? Aye.
Councillor Irving proposed that it be brought back.
Chair, might it be handy to do a recorded vote just to?
It's well, again, what way did we do it the other night? It wasn't just exactly a recorded vote, but it was a indication when I respond to your name. Wouldn't that be right? I believe that's the case. Okay, so sorry. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, we need a proposal to extend the meeting by half an hour. I believe, in all sincerity, we could get this meeting finished, or at least get some more vital business dealt with. Could I have a proposer to extend the meeting by half an hour?
Propose, Councillor Irvine.
Councillor Thompson.
Happy enough. Put to the meeting. All in agreement?
Chair, I'm not sure we'll get through it in half an hour.
Well, I put it like this: it's correspondence and some other items. I think we'll give it a good chase.
The meeting done yet?
Sorry, I'm getting a nod from the chief executive who guides me in this position here. I'll take her advice. She thinks we could do it, and I'm happy enough to think we could do it with some brevity and not reiterating stuff that's already gone before the committee. Now, all in favour of Councillor Michael Lear's proposal? Diane Armstrong? Collier Armstrong? Councillor Armstrong?
Against.
Councillor Baird? Alex? You were there a minute ago, now you've left me hanging. All right. Councillor Paul Blake, for or against Councillor Michael Lear's proposal?
Against.
Councillor Buchanan, for or against?
Against.
Collier Campbell?
Against.
Collier Clark? Right, moving on. Councillor Coyle? Coyle?
Against.
Collier Curry?
Nay, against.
Collier Deehan?
Against.
Collier Anne-Marie Donnelly?
Against.
Collier Sean Donnelly?
Against.
Collier Stephen Donnelly?
For.
For. Councillor Keith Elliott?
Against.
Councillor Deborah Erskine?
Against.
Collier Anthony Feely?
Against.
Anthony. Collier Anne-Marie Fitzgerald?
Against.
Collier Adam Gannon?
Against.
Collier Mary Garrity?
Against, Chair.
Collier Seamus Green?
Against.
Collier Robert Irvine?
Against.
Sorry about that, Robert. And Councillor Eamon Keenan? For. Collier Catherine Kelly?
Against.
Podrigan Kelly? Collier?
Against.
Collier Tommy McGuire? Against. Collier Emmett Michael Lear?
I'm for. That's a disgrace.
Collier Chris McCaffrey?
Against.
That'll do. Collier Stephen McCann?
Against.
Collier John McCloughery? Councillor John McCloughery?
Against.
Avara Michael Duff? Collier Michael Duff? Against. Collier Garvin McPhillips? Sorry, Garvin?
Garvin not here.
Donald Coffey?
For the motion.
Tomas O'Reilly? Collier O'Reilly?
Against.
Alan Rainey? Councillor Rainey?
Against.
Councillor Paul Robinson?
Against.
Councillor Chris Smith?
Against.
Collier Bernice Swift?
For.
Councillor Earl Thompson?
Against.
Councillor Howard Thornton?
Against.
Councillor Victor Warrington?
Against.
And last but not least, Councillor Bert Wilson?
Against.
Bert, good man. Thank you. For the proposal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest of the members available to me are against, if you wish the number. 32, thank you, Kim. 32 against and 4 for. Your proposal has fallen, Councillor Michael Lear, and therefore we go back to Councillor Irvine's proposal, seconded by Councillor Wilson, that it be brought back for further discussion and again brought back to the committee. All agreed?
Absolutely not, no.
Well, again, your dissent is noted. So will I take it that the four councillors, can I take, as a general note, for brevity, can I take the 4 councillors that voted, or the 5 actually, or wish to be recorded as dissent?
Recorded vote on that one.
Sorry?
I'd appreciate a recorded vote on that particular motion.
Well, the voting process, as indicated, was due to the technology available to us, that was the way we would do it, down through the list, and everybody responded. It's as accurate, and it's there in the minutes. Again, it will come for the council meeting. You will again have the opportunity at that stage to challenge it and to call for a recorded vote at that stage. Or no, I've been indicated by the Chief Executive you can't. But again, you can further represent your opinion at that time. Sorry, who's trying to come in there?
It's Donal here. I suspect that there may be councillors here who would not want to support the calling back of this as per that may have voted for the first one. I'm just suspecting that some councillors may not want to support what Councillor Irvine's saying, that may have voted against what Councillor McAleer said.
You're causing more confusion and stalling, Donal, in the time that's precious to us at the minute. I don't understand what you're saying. The first part of the recommendation about the what was the first part allowed for me there? The illuminations.
No, I believe that not. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd be surprised if every councillor that voted against the first motion will automatically vote for the second one. Frankly,
You have totally confused me there, Donal. The two items. Sorry, no.
issue with the recorded vote, Chair. There's no issue with any of the rest of the recorded vote.
Everyone else is happy enough with it, Donal. In the interest of brevity, and there was another issue, and I'm sure you'll have something to say yourself. I'm going to try and get it in as quick as I can here. We are now at 10:15. We have 20 minutes to try and get through some more of this business. I am doing my best. Please assist me, and I'm sure there's other issues that you will wish to add to. That was item 7.9, and just with the power that is invested in me as the chair, I am now, in contradiction to what I said at the start, I am now going to bring in Ian Growella, any other business before item 8, so that the business that was notified to me earlier today, and it's Councillor Coyle, if you wish to come in and make your representations as you stated earlier in the day. Sorry, who's this?
It's Bernice here. Just on a little point of order, and it's just something going forward. I'll be very quick. Just when the voting was being taken there, and I know your beautiful expression, Ascaliga, of the Irish language when you say my who, etc., it can be perceived, and I did. I'm just being straight with you here.
I actually was conscious of that when I said it, but what I was doing was I was saying my who to the fact that we got a rapid response.
Well, there was 3 or 4 in particular where you said
I will note that.
Like as if you're saying well done on the way they were voting. So if
no, it was on the speed of the response is what I meant. I apologise if there was any misinterpretation. Far be it from me to try and prejudice anyone.
It's the vote. Yeah, girl.
Okay, sorry about that, Bernice.
Thank you, Tommy.
Again, it's to do with the urgency of trying to get some of these issues. Again, now I'll call on Councillor Coyle. You did contact me in relation to any other business, and you're free to.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I know that there is a electronic book of condolence going to be maybe done by the council, but I would ask, I have spoken to the chair and I've asked, would he illuminate Inniskillen Castle and Struil Arts Centre in yellow, in remembrance of George Floyd. His funeral was today, and I know that we send all our deepest condolences to his family. We're all horrified and outraged at the scenes of oppression by the police against the Black community and peaceful demonstrators in the United States. I understand that people want to show their solidarity with the struggle of justice for the Black community, and I feel that need to protest and act, but I also keenly aware that in the middle of a COVID pandemic, we have a responsibility to do all we can to prevent further transmission of this virus, which is claiming lives, and evidence suggests that it will if we social distance. So I thought that visual support for the people in the US and here in our own country, that we would illuminate the buildings in yellow. And thank you.
Thanks for that proposal, and I'm going to call in another councillor that indicated to speak on the same issue in any other business, and that was Councillor Anthony Feely.
Thank you, Keir, for letting me in on this one. And I just agree there with everything Councillor Coyle says, and what Councillor Stephen Johnny done there during the week up and get the book of condolences up. I was appalled with the killing of George Floyd as well, and to tell you the truth, I couldn't even look at it on social media. I was that sickened by it. And it's just bringing me back to the time of when you see the footage on the news of Martin Luther King's death in 1968, with all the riots that was in America at that time. the phrase used to be Washington's on fire. And it's just the same now. So it just shows you how little we have come on in 52 years, this going on. And I was all, from growing up, was always Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela would have been two icons of mine that I would have looked up to. Not many councillors might know, but I was born in England myself, and I was there till I was 10 years old, and I went to school there from I should say here from P1 to P6. But the first boy I got friendly with at school was a little black boy. That time it wasn't politically correct to say black; you'd have to call him a coloured boy. But he was black, and his name was Leroy. And he was in a mostly white school. It was a white, I say it's a white Catholic school, and the all Irish descent was in it. But this, me and him made great friends, and was friends, so I left it in P6. But after a few months, I could see all the other boys picking on him, telling him to go back to Africa. Did you break out of the zoo? Throwing bananas at him, and what used to go on in the late 70s and 80s, monkey chant. But I started to stand up for this wee boy, and I used to say to the other boys, I says, that's not right, leave him alone. I says, he's the same as us. And to this very day, I would still stand up for black people. And I still think of that wee boy now, Leroy, and when I see anybody being mishandled by police or brutally killed by police, I'd always think of him. We moved back here then when I was 10-year-old, and I went to school, in a rural school in Fermanagh, and joined in P7. And the coin shape quickly flipped over for me, as some of the boys in that school started picking on me, because I had an English accent at that time. At 10, I'd got a bit of an English accent. I still pronounce some of my words English yet, I am told. But he started picking on me, and it's not a very nice place to be when you're getting abused where you're from and all that kind of carry on. So I have seen two sides of racism, and it just puts me real bad, and I'd be so upset about that. I just feel so sorry for this man's family, and the length is going on. It hasn't moved any in about 50 or hundreds and hundreds of years. And later in life, I became a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and would go to all his concerts. And Bruce Springsteen is a great man for the black people, and he wrote a song called 41 Shots in 1999-2000. It was about a young black man that was shot in New York in his leaving his apartment. He was taking his hand out of his pocket, taking his wallet out, put his key into it. The police thought it was a gun, shot him 41 times in the back. Police got off with that. The policeman on that walked scot-free of it. Springsteen wrote a song about it and played it in all his live concerts in that gig. 40 or 50,000 people would be at the concert. When he'd sing that song, there used to come an eerie silence over the whole stadium, and everybody was standing in solidarity with that man that was shot. 2014, there was another black man shot in Florida, causing wild riots in Florida at that stage. Springsteen started singing this in that tour as well. So that's only a couple of instances I know of on social media, but I would appeal of everybody to support the black people. And we were going to have a protest in Enniskillen last Saturday, and we called it off because of the social distance. And we all took photos of ourselves and the family and put it up on social media in solidarity with the black people. So that's just my take on it, and I'm just glad that we were able to try and do something for the black community in America. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Andy, and thanks for your personal recollections there. It definitely strikes home. Thank you for that. And, Alex Baird, you're next on the list. Do you wish to speak on the issue? No. Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, you're next on the list. Do you wish to speak?
Apologies, Chair.
Oh, sorry, you are there, Alex. Right. Sorry, Anne-Marie, just hold on.
It was up from the last issue on the Green Road, so my apologies.
Right.
It's this colour blindness is the problem. Not very appropriate what we're talking about.
I maybe agree with that. Thanks, Alex. And Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, if you'd like to say a few words, please.
Apology, Tommy. It was from the last time. I didn't take my hand down. It was down there.
Ian
Thank you.
Bert
Sorry
Wilson,
about that.
do you wish to speak on this particular issue? No. Paul Robinson on this issue? I think your hand's been up forever and a day now, Paul, is it? Seamus Green, do you wish to speak on this issue? Green?
I was going to, but I'll after Anthony's.
No need
I
to
can't
do it.
say any more than what he did.
I think that's well considered. Collier Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think Councillor Coyle's proposal was seconded there to light up yellows.
I have taken that Councillor Feely was seconded.
Chair.
I believe that was the sentiment of him coming in at that stage. Happy enough with that. Collier McAleer, do you wish to add to this discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Whilst I suppose the standard of what to date, I think I do have to take issue with some of the things that have been said in terms of the policing and the overhanded, overzealous policing of some of the protests that we've witnessed. Very well organised and socially distanced protests in both.
Sorry, Councillor. It's obviously we're reflecting on this particular day, the Tuesday that's in it. The man was laid to rest today in America. I'm trying to keep the discussion specifically to councillors that wish to make some eulogy or some words of support for Floyd's family and the wider population in America. I don't wish to get sidetracked into the discussion of what happened at the weekend here, there, and everywhere. We're really trying to focus on this issue of this man's death.
With due respect, Chair, I think words from us are all well and good, but when we can take any kind of action towards, as I said, the overhanded policing.
Sorry, Chair. No, sorry, Councillor. I'm going to have to mute you, Chair. Councillor, I have already expressed within the time. Sorry. IT, please mute that, Councillor. Sorry, Chair. You've got forewarning. You've been forewarned. That's not the issue we're discussing at the moment, and you objected to the Chair telling you to be quiet. Thank you. Now, next on the list is Councillor O'Coffey, if you wish to come in there and speak on this issue, specifically in reflection on George Floyd's life and death.
Well, I had my hand down there, sorry.
Sorry, you're still on my list. Eamon, did you wish to add to this discussion?
Yes, I'd like to...
Go ahead, Eamon, have your say. Again, specifically about the life and death and of George Floyd. We're not going into any other policing issues regardless of that. This is the day of the man's funeral, and I think we should be suitably speaking on his behalf or on our behalf to reflect our feelings. Go ahead, Eamon.
I'd like to commend the Book of Condolences being open, and likewise, like everyone else, was revulsion what happened to George Floyd. I'd also like to speak about the BLM protests and the legislation that was rushed through.
Sorry, Eamon, that's what I'm after specifically saying. This was brought forward as any other business as a tribute to George Floyd. I'm not going to be sidetracked, as I already said to Councillor McAleer. It's a eulogy for the man, and specifically that, or any discussion on, like Councillor Feely, his personal reflection.
The right to protest is a human right.
Sorry, Eamon. Same as I said to Councillor McAleer, I'm looking for a respectful eulogy for the man. No, sorry. Again, could you silence that, Councillor, as well? Anyone that disrespects the chair like that will be silenced. I've already expressly said this was supposed to be a respectful eulogy to the man that died, especially on the day of his funeral. Sorry, councillors, if you feel that you needed to get into some other reason. I think that what Councillor Coyle proposed and what Councillor Feely seconded is a suitable tribute from this council. I'm happy enough to put that to the members. All in agreement?
Can I jump in, Cahirley?
Certainly, Bernice. Sorry, your name is on a list now. Sorry, I'm only seeing it now, Bernice.
I'm glad I'm on that Christmas list, Tommy.
You told me off a minute ago, so I thought I'd keep it.
That's all right. And to fully support the proposer and seconder on this state murder issue, and we're all aboard by it, and it's truly repulsive right across the world, here in Ireland and everywhere else. And to come in, I didn't know Anthony's story, and we've all been at the receiving end of racism. I was actually an immigrant in New York when Amadou Diallo was murdered. I used to go to the same corner store that the man went to, and it's emotional to know that Anthony's favourite song by Springsteen was a tribute to him. I stood on every protest against that horrible, heinous crime, shot 41 times, and the whole sketches are still etched in my memory. And it's not a good memory to have. But it's good that we're recognising and remembering all those who've been murdered by the state here tonight. Gurmagat.
Bernice, and thanks for that sticking to the point of the motion. So again, that has been put to the members, and they're all agreed.
My hand up would like to come in, please.
Oh, sorry, Victor.
Yeah, well, I certainly
again, I apologise, Victor.
I just want to support Councillor Coyle's proposal, but of course every life matters regardless of race, colour, skin, religion or anything else. But just I take a wee bit of offence to Councillor Swift's mentioning of the continued mentioning of the state. Let me finish.
Sorry, Victor. I did express that this was brought in under any other business, and it was specific to the death of George Floyd. To be a eulogy to the man. If you don't wish to add to the eulogy, that's fair enough. But do not please sidetrack into any minor dispute of expressions by other councillors. There are some emotional expressions there. I found it in their contribution. So please just avoid any conflict and just support it. It would be appreciated.
I'm supporting it, but I just want to add there was 10 members of the British forces.
Sorry, Victor, that's it. Again, you're going to have to be silenced, Victor. I've done it to all other councillors. So likewise to yourself. Please silence Victor Warrington. Thank you. I did expressly state that I wanted it kept to be a dignified response. It's unfortunate that some people decided to get sidetracked. Again, now time-wise, moving on. Not much time left to us now. We go on to 25 to, I believe.
Sure.
Sorry, who's that? Eamon? No. Errol?
Councillor Thompson, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I'm seeing an E on my screen just in front of me here. Errol, apologies for that. Yes, go ahead, Errol.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. And again, we're happy enough to support the recommendation as put forward by Councillor Coyle.
Thank you.
All I'll say is Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter.
Sorry. Again, Councillor, I'm being very strict now because I did insist that it was specific to just George Floyd and some sort of a eulogy, as was expressed by Councillor Coyle in his email to me. Okay, so thanks for that, Errol, and thanks for your support on the general context. Again, moving on, members, we have 5 minutes left, so we will try a few of the correspondence, which is 8.1. Consider correspondence the 14th of February. We must have got a Valentine's card from somebody on the Department of Communities regarding the Affordable Warmth Scheme. And that is John. Thank you, John.
Yes, Chair. This is, and it's actually also related to item 8.6, I believe, with further correspondence on the Affordable Warmth Scheme. It's just on the 14th of February where they notified us that in the council, the allocation for the year to the Affordable Warmth Scheme, and that we would have to make 38 referrals per month in order to achieve the amount of allocation. Could I just refer you, Chair, to correspondence 8.6, just because it's on the same vein. In that, following that correspondence of the 14th of February, there was further correspondence on the 15th of May in relation to COVID and the ability not to achieve the 38 referrals per month. And they were writing to confirm that councils would be paid the same amount in Q1 of 1920 for the Q1 in 2021. And then there was further clarification on the 26th of May in item 8.6 also.
Okay, councillors happy enough to take 8.1 and 8.6 together there. No, nobody indicating to speak there. I had names up, but they've just gone. Yeah. Oh, are they there? Sorry, Josephine, you wish to say?
Thank you, Chair. I had wanted to speak on the previous item, and I want to commend you on your chairing this meeting, because it seemed to me that you were quite determined to reach AOB concerning George Floyd. My wish is that his loss of life will not be in vain. I want to propose we note and welcome these two pieces of correspondence. I think the news on affordable warmth is very welcome, and that it has been extended and the business case confirmed. So I want to welcome that and propose we note.
Josephine, if I could just ask you for to finish there, and I'll move on for a second, if you don't mind, Josephine. Try and get some of these things done if we can. Thank you. Collier Feely, your name's still up there. Are you in this issue? No. Collier Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Just happy second, Tommy.
Good enough, Anthony. That'll do me. Now, there are other names here for discussion on the correspondence, but having a proposer and a seconder, I'm putting it to the meeting. If there is a dissent, speak up. Okay, happy enough. Moving on to 8.2, I believe. I've lost track of myself here now. Sorry, 8.2, to consider correspondence 23rd of March from Invest NI.
Yeah, thank you,
Sorry,
Chair.
that's Kim. Thank you, Kim.
Well, this correspondence is in response to correspondence from the council, which is attached to this letter, in terms of the availability of industrial land within the district, and it's noting that there is no Invest NI has no available land within the Omagh area at this point, and also some information on the recent searches which has taken place through Invest NI.
Thank you, Kim. We have a few names in front of me there. Collier O'Coffey, do you wish to speak on this issue?
Yeah, well, obviously I don't represent the Omagh area, but the fact that Invest NI hasn't got any development land, industrial land zoned in the Omagh area, probably reflects the complete lack of focus that has characterized Invest NI, I think to our region in general for the last few decades. It's absolutely essential if we're going to attract industrial jobs to this area that will have industrial infrastructure there, and I think it was Councillor McAleer actually raised this, and I think it's clarified just how poor things are. One question I wanted to ask: they referenced a decision to change use of a factory to a church in Lackaboy Industrial Estate, and it's the first I've heard of that, so I'm just looking for clarification on that. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, I can provide clarity just to confirm that the land in question was zoned for industrial use and the application was approved for the alternate use for the church as indicated in the letter, so that's correct.
Okay, Donald, we have 1 minute left, and I have other councillors that want to speak on it, so maybe I'll move to somebody else in the last minute. Councillor Michael Duff.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Chair, I'll give credit where credit is due, but it was I who raised this issue. I propose that we write as a council to Rosemary Stalker, the Chair of Invest NI, and Kevin Holland, the CEO, asking them to correct the historical record of this letter. The letter is wrong because in the 7th sentence, the 3rd paragraph, I want to point out that Invest NI has had lengthy discussions with available land owners in Omagh. There is 27.4 acres available with frontage to Drumnakilly Road, Diverny Road and Farmhill Road, and Invest NI have had many engagements. They know this. This letter is wrong. Therefore, I am asking the council to write a letter to the Chair, Chief Executive of Invest NI to correct the record, and I will work with Kim or whoever will draft the letter to give a timeline of engagements that have occurred, pointing that fact out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I am sorry to say that time has run out. Thank you very much for your cooperation tonight. I think we managed to get quite a considerable bit of work done.
Need a seconder.
Sorry, I'm slightly ahead of myself. I do need a seconder on that issue.
Seconder.
Thank you, Donald. Sorry, apologies for that. I was just probably thinking of a cigarette. Thank you all for your cooperation this evening. I'm delighted that my first meeting we've managed to get some business done. I did say that it was time bound because of we're dealing with issues the council has to do with COVID-19. Thank you very much. You are all very welcome. Hope you enjoyed your evening.
Thank you very much, Chair.
You're to fault your over Erika, while you're good night to everyone and sleep.
Tommy, go away.
Tommy.
You're welcome. Slán file.
Great Chair.
Thanks for your contribution, Anthony. That was very, very good. They're all disappearing.
You spoke there, Tommy.
I will have. I think I don't know if tobacco will do the job. Right? Don't put that on the record.
Tommy.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Wayne, get a king size cigarette now, Tommy.
King size cigarette, and maybe a wee glass of scotch when I get home.